Chapter 889. Princess Sisai and Shui Wuxiao were still fine. After all, the two of them had already met many senior experts, so they were mentally prepared before they came out. However, beautiful Silk Fairy, who had been imprisoned for tens of thousands of years, didn't know about the outside world. When she saw the divine equipment in the two girls' hands, she was shocked again. You actually obtained the approval of the divine sword. Impossible. The divine sword would never approve a woman as its master. And the divine staff, why is the head missing? How pitiful. The most important dragon head of the divine staff is also missing. Without the dragon head and the divine pearl, the power of the divine staff is much weaker than before. Princess Sisai, Shui Wuxia, and Yu Yang looked at each other. The prison emperor divine staff had been like this ever since they received it. Where was the dragon head and the divine pearl? As for why Princess Sisai obtained the approval of the divine sword, this could be explained. Because the divine sword approved of Yu Yang. However, due to the prison emperor's unfulfilled wish of very kindly helping his descendants to strengthen the contract, a confusing mistake was made. Yu Yang, who had truly approved of it, was unable to use it. Instead, it was Princess Qian, who was the descendant of the prison emperor who held the divine sword and had the emperor's bloodline, who became the wielder of the divine sword. Yu Yang didn't care about this, but the divine equipment itself could evolve and mutate. Every generation's master. The power they unleashed was different. This meant that the divine sword mainly used its master's characteristics to unleash its power. If he unleashed it well, he might be able to reach the level of Zhenren-buried Jian. He might even surpass. If that was really the case, it would be too easy for the bandits from the Central Shrine if he didn't settle the score with the people from the Central Shrine and take back the divine armor. Actually, whether the 6 divine equipment were created by Zhenren-buried Jian or not was not what Yu Yang was concerned about. What Yu Yang wanted to prove the most was that the prison emperor could use the 6 divine equipment. In other words, if the prison emperor could become the master of the divine equipment, he would definitely be able to do better. If there were more than 3 divine equipment, and there was still the divine mirror, divine armor, and divine clock, then he would have a chance to gather a complete set. Thinking about it, it was impossible to have the divine sword without the divine armor. As it turned out, it was snatched away by Ji Wu Ri and his master, Tian Yu. As for the fellow who snatched the divine mirror, there was no relevant information yet. You're all very outstanding children. It looks like Tong Tian Tower has really risen. It turns out that even that little fellow Yu Titan couldn't believe it. The beautiful silk celestial maiden embraced the 2 women in a benevolent manner, stroking their backs and kissing their beautiful hair. It would be great if my successors could be like you. Although I love you so much, because you are all in this hourglass world, I cannot give you everything I have. Perhaps after you leave, you will be able to accept it, but in this hourglass world, do not try to challenge the supreme dignity of the ancient gods. Children, I am glad to see you, and to have met you. Even if I fall into a deep sleep again, in my dreams I will have something to say to my husband. G divine equipment G, can you too? I am, you too, you are more than me. You have you too better of divine of the G. As for the 2 of you, you are much more useful than I was in the past. You are more capable of providing assistance to your loved ones. Children, I wish you 2 good luck from the bottom of my heart. You must work hard and live a happy life. The future of Tong Tian Tower belongs to you too. Thank you. Princess Sisai and Shui Wuxiao were touched by this senior's blessing. Those who had experienced unforgettable love would know what was the most precious thing in the world. Only then would one know what the most precious things in this world were. For a senior like the beautiful Silk Fairy, who was still yearning for her even after tens of thousands of years of separation, her blessings were like the hopes that the senior had placed on her descendant. In a situation where she was unable to attain happiness, she would lovingly wish her descendant eternal happiness. The beautiful Luo Fairy and the 2 girls hugged each other warmly and gave their blessings from the bottom of her heart. Finally, she turned around and looked at Yu Yang. Lucky fellow, what is the second thing you mentioned? Yu Yang resisted the urge to ask more about the 5-color divine light. Firstly, He guessed that the beautiful Luo fairy didn't know about it because she was sealed later on. Secondly, too many things had happened in the past tens of thousands of years. The soaring dragon continent had changed too much. Why did the green of the five-color divine light go to the 12 zodiac temples in Tong Tian Tower? Where were the other 4 divine lights? Could it be that Jiao Shao also had the five-color divine light? Otherwise, why would he forge a black light? Yu Yang suppressed all these questions in his heart. It wasn't that he didn't want to ask if he had the chance, but he had a feeling that the beautiful Luo fairy didn't know the truth. If he asked, he would be disappointed. He adjusted his mentality and recovered the undying will of an innate sovereign. He nodded at the beautiful Luo fairy and bowed slightly. It's like this. I hope that you can open up a passageway here and neutralize the water energy in this world with the fire energy in Lord Laihua's world. If that's really the case, the water world you're in might undergo earth-shattering changes. Therefore, I'd like to ask for your opinion. The beautiful Luo fairy immediately understood after hearing Yu Yang's words. This bold and intelligent young man wanted to use the water of the water world to drown out the sea of fire in Lord Laihua's world. The problem was that even if she agreed and was willing to transfer the water of the entire water world over, she probably wouldn't be able to completely extinguish the sea of fire in Lord Laihua's world. Firstly, there was an unimaginable amount of fire energy in the sea of fire. Even if the water went over, it would evaporate into steam and rise into the air. It wouldn't be able to impact the sea of fire enough. Secondly, with such a powerful Lord Laihua there, it would be difficult for the 3 of them to complete the transfer of water energy. There was a third problem, which was also the most difficult one. If there wasn't enough conversion power, it was very likely that Lord Laihua would slowly convert the water energy into fire energy or drive it back to his water world. In other words, this young man's idea was good, but it would be very difficult to implement. The beautiful Luo fairy glanced at Yu Yang and didn't reject him outright. Instead, she asked with a smile, "It looks like you're very confident. Can you tell me what kind of plan it is?" Senior, his domain is the power of creation, but it's a little small. If we combine it with my divine sense domain and Qianqian's divine sword as a guide, we're confident that we can instantly transfer the water within a range of 10 kilometers to the sea of fire over there. As for the problem of energy conversion, even without the power of creation, the storm horn of Little One Li's battle beast, and my battle beast, the storm goddess general, we still have this. Shui Wuxia took out the treasure on her wrist. It was an energy-absorbing bracelet. This was the spoils of war that Yu Yang had obtained from the Toad King. Whether it was used by Yu Yang or Shui Wuxia, who had the divine sense domain, it would be like a nightmare to the enemy. The energy-absorbing bracelet was also called the conversion bracelet. Its function was to absorb the enemy's elements and convert them into another type of elemental energy. It was not very possible for an ordinary person to convert such a huge amount of energy with their spiritual power. They could barely use it to deal with a battle beast. However, with the spiritual power of Yu Yang and Shui Wuxia, once they raised their domain and used the energy-absorbing bracelet, they believed that the enemy wouldn't even be able to cry. Yu Yang didn't use it in the Sea of Fire because he wasn't very confident. After all, true Lord Laihua was a troublesome opponent. Even though true Lord Laihua had been dead for tens of thousands of years, his soul and energy possessed fire energy. He was an existence that was second only to the Heaven Realm great leaders. Without 80 to 90% confidence, Yu Yang didn't want to fight with this guy head-on. Now that he had found the water world and talked with the beautiful Silk Fairy, he had obtained many secrets of the divine weapon and information about the five-colored divine light. Yu Yang's confidence had increased greatly. He was determined not to leave the Sea of Fire world quietly with Grey Wolf, but to fight with that greedy, true Lord Laihua. If he could take down true Lord Laihua in the advantageous terrain, then Yu Yang would definitely improve further. In the future, if he met the Heaven Realm great leaders or the Central Shrine's Jiwuri, he might be able to put up a fight. I'm going to sleep with my husband's will. I don't care what happens to this water world. Children, do what you want to do. Don't worry about me. An unfortunate person like me should have died a long time ago. It's just that the laws don't allow it. The punishment of the ancient great god has been tormenting me like this. Children, no matter what, please don't step into this hourglass world. I'm really worried that the pressure of the ancient great god will affect your future. You have to know that some forbidden areas should be kept away from and respected. All right, children, goodbye. Being able to see all of you, I no longer have any worries or regrets in my heart. The beautiful silk fairy slowly sank into the water world in the form of a water person. In fact, this was only the water person form that she had maintained with her will. The real her no longer existed. Even her will didn't break free from the seal like true Lord Lihua did. Instead, she stayed in the seal willingly and continued to sleep. Shui Wuxia took the beautiful silk umbrella from Yu Yang's hand. She opened it slightly and then closed it gently. She looked at Princess Sisai and nodded. She didn't say anything. Princess Sisai suddenly gave Yu Yang a hug. She moved her lips to his ear and said in an ingratiating tone that Yu Yang had never heard before, "Can you give this umbrella to Sister Yu? I feel that Sister Yu is so gentle and gentle. She's definitely the best candidate to inherit the beautiful silk fairy's legacy. I know that fallen flowers and Anan are all very suitable, but the most suitable one is still Sister Yu. I'll give it to fallen flowers and Anan when I find someone more suitable in the future. Okay?" Although Yu Yang had fallen into Tigress's sweet embrace, he wasn't confused. "Tigress, why are you suddenly speaking up for Sister Yu? This is a secret between us girls." Princess Sisai refused to answer. "Is that so?" Yu Yang guessed that Tigress must have done something to anger Yu Yu and wanted to repair their relationship. Otherwise, she wouldn't speak to him like this. Even if she was asking for the beautiful silk umbrella on behalf of Yu Yu, she wouldn't use such a flattering tone. However, what would Hunyo do to Yu Yu that made her, who had a temperament as gentle as water, anxious? Ordinary things wouldn't make Yu Yu angry. What did Tigress do? Yu Yang was really a bit curious. However, he also knew that if he wanted this Tigress to take the initiative to say it now, it would probably be harder than ascending to the heavens. He had a strange feeling that it had something to do with him. Hence, he didn't dare to ask directly. He was afraid that it would make everyone feel awkward. "Forget it, you miser." Although Princess Sisai said that, she quickly took the beautiful silk umbrella from Shui Wuxia and put it in her storage ring. Then, she kissed Yu Yang on the cheek. "Thank you, third young master, Xuanyo." Yu Yang leaned towards Shui Wuxia and gestured for her to kiss him. "After we beat perfected Lord Lihua, if I still have the strength, I can kiss him as many times as I want." Shui Wuxia was not easy to deal with. Although she didn't reject him directly, Yang probably wouldn't have the strength to kiss her after he beat perfected Lord Lihua. Wouldn't it be a waste of his words? Of course, it was better to have hope than to have no hope at all. With the little beauty waiting for him, he had to face it head on, no matter how difficult it was. Moreover, Xuanyo kept her words, unlike Tigress, who often went back on her words. Yang felt more motivated. Whether it was to challenge himself or to pick up girls, he had to kill that arrogant, perfected Lord Lihua. He was a small boss on the path of cultivation. If he didn't beat him, who would he beat? Chapter 890. True Lord Lihua was very unhappy these 2 days. The reason was that the arrogant kid and the uncontracted demon wolf couldn't be found. Although his raging flame condor, fuel oil bat, and ghostfire crow had searched every area in the dark clouds, they found nothing. True Lord Lihua was sure that the kid and the wolf were hiding in the clouds, but he couldn't find them. The search in the Sea of Fire also ended in failure. The volcano whale, strange-faced fisherman fish, and fire dragon eel didn't find any trace of the enemy. It was as if the arrogant kid had never appeared. However, when true Lord Lihua thought of the other party's face, he gritted his teeth in hatred. The prey that was about to die tragically in his hands when he was the most confident, a prey that was like a cooked duck, actually flew away. This was a slap in the face that true Lord Lihua couldn't bear. He hated himself for not using his full strength. At that time, if he used all his strength to launch a fatal blow, the enemy wouldn't even be left of him. Unfortunately, the possibility of killing the enemy in an instant had been missed. It was destined to never happen again. Kid, don't let me see you again, or I'll kill you. True Lord Lihua could only be long-winded in his heart. Without the enemy in target, he couldn't use his strength. Caw, caw, caw. The two heaven-ranked level 2 Willow Wisp crows suddenly flew back in panic. What was going on? Did they find the arrogant kid and the demon wolf? True Lord Lihua was delighted. To him, it didn't matter even if Yu Yang left. However, missing the uncontracted divine beast Hui Tai Lang made his heart ache. At that time, if True Lord Lihua didn't act so pretentiously and didn't use the volcano whale to restrain it, he would use his greatest strength to severely injure Hui Tai Lang, capture it, and slowly think of a way to contract it. That way, it would definitely be better than having nothing now. Southeast, 2,000 kilometers away, the enemy was found. This was information brought back by the two panicked ghost fire crows. True Lord Lihua was speechless towards these two timid ghost fire crows. What was the enemy afraid of? As long as they were in the sea of fire and within his domain, even if they were killed, they would be able to slowly revive. His domain was the reignited domain, the greatest blessing for all fire-type beasts in the world. Of course, Lord Lihua also knew that the combination of Yu Yang and Hui Tai Lang was not easy to deal with. It was normal for the two Willow Wisp crows to be defeated. Moreover, the other side still had a primal chaos spirit. If not for the primal chaos spirit's fire attribute and the sea of fire's boundless recovery, the two second-rank heaven ghost fire crows might not have been able to return. Perfected cultivator Lai Hua was no longer anxious after discovering the enemy. You can't possibly live in the sky forever, right? Besides, it's full of volcanic ash. I don't believe you can stay there forever. The volcano whale, the fisherman fish, and the fire dragon eel formed a semicircle, and a few dozen volcano gremlins that had just reached the heaven rank formed a large net to surround the enemy. Perfected cultivator Lai Hua brought the raging flame condor and recalled the oil-burning bat. Under the lead of the Willow Wisp crows, they set off towards the southeast. This time, he was ready to annihilate the enemy. Even if the demon wolf refused to surrender, he would kill the enemy completely. He would never let the enemy escape from his hands again. Although perfected cultivator Lai Hua had a beautiful dream, when he saw Yu Yang and Hui Tai Lang again, he couldn't help but fume from his 7 orifices. He regretted not killing these two abominable guys in a second. What entered perfected cultivator Lai Hua's eyes was a vast ocean. That's right, it was the ocean. There seemed to be a big hole in the sky. A waterfall that was thousands of meters high and hundreds of meters wide rushed down from the dark clouds, making an earth-shattering sound. The original sea of fire, within dozens of kilometers, had turned into a vast ocean. The boiling lava had already cooled into black reefs or small islands. There were also some places where the residual heat had yet to die out. They were still like volcanoes. The surface was cool, but the center of the volcanoes was spewing out smoke. It was raining on a larger scale. It was pouring. A cycle of water and fire had formed in the periphery of nearly 100 kilometers. The rain turned into water vapor when it was heated up, rose to the sky, and then fell down again. Rumble. Lightning flashed and thunder roared. When the golden lightning tore the dark clouds apart in the heavy rain, which had never happened since the formation of a sea of fire, perfected cultivator Lai Hua's heart seemed to be torn apart. For the time being, he couldn't figure out where this guy got so much water. He also couldn't understand why the water didn't disappear in the sea of fire and turned into fire energy. Originally, no matter how slow it was, the water energy would be turned into fire energy because this was the rule of the sea of fire, and it was irreversible. Perfected cultivator Lai Hua couldn't figure out how all this happened. However, he didn't want to find out the truth. He just wanted to find Yu Yang and kill him immediately. Even if he was a second late, he couldn't bear it anymore. Open. Perfected cultivator Lai Hua waved his hand, and the whole sea of fire spewed lava thousands of meters high into the sky. Compared with the lava that was thousands of degrees high, the normal temperature rain was nothing. It was directly turned into steam and couldn't fall at all. A stream of lava that was thousands of meters long swept towards the lake that was dozens of kilometers wide behind a curtain of rain, like a ski slope. It directly paved a blazing lava path on the sea of fire that was gradually cooling down. Perfected cultivator Lai was stepped on the burning ski slope angrily. The volcano whale was a bit slower and didn't catch up in time, but the weird-faced fisherman seized the opportunity and rushed to the front. Then, it opened its mouth and spewed lava that was also thousands of meters long, forming a road for perfected cultivator Lai to walk on. It spewed lava very fast, but on a much smaller scale. Usually, it had to spray 3 or 4 times before it could barely allow perfected cultivator Lai to slide on it. When it reached the edge of the lake, it found that no matter how many times it spewed lava, it couldn't form a road on the water. The vast water energy was like a clay ox entering the sea. Perfected cultivator Lai was completely enraged. Not only did that arrogant kid not hide, but he also dared to play tricks right under his nose. He deserved to die. He raised his arms angrily to the sky, and the island that had gradually cooled into a dormant volcano erupted all at once. The power of the explosion shook the entire surface of the water, raising waves that were thousands of meters high. High lava was spewed out like a monster vomiting, flipped in the air, and fell into the water. Then, under the unparalleled mental control of perfected cultivator Lai Hua, they turned into pillars of lava bridge piers. As soon as these lava piers entered the water, they quickly cooled, hardened, and turned into stone. However, even more high-temperature lava splashed up from behind, forming a huge and wide lava bridge above them. The weird-faced fisherman saw that the opportunity to make a contribution had come, so it desperately spewed lava upward, intensifying the formation of a lava bridge. The raging flame condor and the ghost fire crow circled the huge waterfall that was descending at a high speed from the sky, trying to find the source and help their master block it. Rumble. Several purple lightning bolts exploded in the sky. They directly hit the heads of the raging flame condor and the ghost fire crow, sending them flying. Originally, the raging flame condor, who could completely ignore the power of ordinary lightning, screamed and rolled under the purple lightning. Its charred feathers scattered all over the sky. What was worse than were the 2 ghost fire crows of Heaven Stage Level 2. Originally, they did not dare to approach this high-altitude waterfall, but due to their master's orders, they had no choice but to go. Now that they were hit by the purple lightning, they almost fainted and lost control of their bodies. Before falling into the water, they struggled to fly up. With their crooked flying posture and the power of the purple lightning remaining on their bodies, one could imagine how much pain they were in. Caw, caw, caw. The 2 crows had just flown back to the lava bridge when they fell head first, almost losing control and falling into the water. Nonsense! Perfected cultivator Lai Hua was so angry that flames tens of meters high emerged from his head. Hey, you're here? How is it? My swimming pool is not bad, right? Although it's a little small, it's still passable. Yu Yang flew down from the sky and laughed. His expression was as if he had seen an old friend that he had not seen for many years. Do you think you can save your life by getting a little water here? Perfected cultivator Lai Hua was so angry that he laughed. Of course, it's not as simple as saving my life. If you don't mind, I want to turn this place into a sea. When you die, think about how great it would be to have a sea burial. This is not an honor that ordinary people can enjoy. It has to be a marine or a pirate. For a passerby like you who will quickly leave with a lunchbox, you have to thank me for being able to have a sea burial. Yu Yang had an expression of, "I'm doing this for your own good" on his face, as if he was the legendary philanthropist who liked to meddle in other people's business and take care of the aftermath of others. You won't have that chance. Perfected cultivator Lai Hua felt that even if he was retarded, he would not let this kid continue to pour water into his sea of fire. Hui Tai Lang replied with 2 hums. Then let's give it a try. Yu Yang also came to join in the fun. Princess Sisai saw that these 2 buffoons were too outrageous. After talking for so long, They did not talk about the main topic at hand. She stepped forward and kicked both Yu Yong and Hui Tai Lang into the water. Princess Sisai was a person of action. She did not waste time talking nonsense. She held the Prison Emperor Divine sword in her hand and activated her holy energy domain. The four symbols appeared around her at the same time. The azure dragon lightning interweaved in the sky like an electric net. The vermilion bird's fire wings flapped furiously behind her back, and the black tortoise's ice power caused the whole world to freeze. The white tiger, holy energy, and Princess Sisai's white tiger, holy beast allowed the Prison Emperor Divine Sword's power to explode to its maximum. While what? Perfected cultivator Lai Hua was shocked by the divine sword in Princess Sisai's hands, but he was also fearful of this terrifying display of power. Thinking back to the past, his brother had used the 6 divine weapons to easily defeat him, and even killed the Heaven Realm great leaders in front of Berry Sword Villa. Lightning, Azure Dragon Knot, Princess Sisai shouted. Her voice was like the roar of a magnificent army. When the divine sword slashed down, even the heavens and earth lost their color. Even the monster-faced fisherman and the volcano whale were so scared that they immediately dodged, not daring to take the divine sword's slash head-on. Chapter 891. True Monarch Lai Hua stretched out his hand and suddenly grabbed the volcano spiritual monster beside him. He threw it upwards. The volcano spiritual monster that was unable to control itself quickly pounced towards Princess Sisai, who was slashing down with her sword. The volcano spiritual monster also felt that it was dangerous. If it couldn't attack the enemy first, it would definitely die. This place wasn't like the blazing sea of fire outside. There was a lake of water below. If a volcano spiritual monster like it fell into the lake with a high temperature, it would have no chance of survival, no matter how strong it was. Roar! The volcano spiritual monster exploded with its greatest energy. Like a flaming meteorite, it accelerated and flew towards Princess Sisai. At the very least, it wanted both sides to suffer. However, it underestimated the power of a divine weapon. The Prison Emperor Divine Sword in Princess Sisai's hands gathered thousands of lightning bolts at the tip of the sword and slashed down from the sky. It was as simple as a knife cutting tofu. She slashed that heaven-ranked volcano spiritual monster in half. She quickly rushed past the two halves of the volcano spiritual monster. The Prison Emperor Divine Sword in her hands didn't stop at all. It was just that it was even faster and fiercer. It slashed down from 2,000 meters in the sky towards True Monarch Lai Hua. Child's play. True Monarch Lai Hua sneered. After throwing the volcano spiritual monster to test the waters, he had already found out that this female swordsman wasn't able to unleash 100% of the divine sword's power. If this divine weapon could truly unleash 100% of its power, it would be the ultimate slash that nothing in the world would be able to withstand. True Monarch Lai Hua confidently raised his right hand without any defense and blocked Princess Sisai's divine sword slash. Passing through True Monarch Lai Hua's burning fingers and body, the power of the divine sword slashed a 1,000-meter-long mark on the lake surface. However, True Monarch Lai Hua, who blocked the divine sword slash, was not injured at all, even if he no longer had a human body. True Monarch Lai Hua still had the power of an innate Elder Level 8. If the Prison Emperor Divine Sword in Princess Sisai's hands couldn't unleash its true power, then he could completely ignore her attack. Little flea, watch how this godly monarch pinches you to death. True Monarch Lai Hua closed his burning fingers, intending to strangle the tiny Princess Sisai in his hands. Boom! A storm goddess had appeared out of nowhere. While Princess Sisai was absorbing Supreme Lai Hua's attention, she had already condensed a destructive ice energy. It is even more terrible than a passing hurricane. She throws a heavy punch at the back of Supreme Raging Fire's head. With just one punch, the lava in Supreme Lai Hua's head splashed all over the sky. Supreme Lai Hua's body swayed as he tried to stand up straight. However, it was already too late. His 1,000-meter-tall body crashed onto the flaming bridge with a rumble. The burning magma that spurted out of his mouth, nose, and eyes scattered all over the sky, just like human blood, splashing onto the surface of the lake. It was too late for the volcano whale and the fisherman fish to save them. Moreover, with their intelligence, they didn't expect that there would be a godly general-level expert hiding in the dark to launch a sneak attack. The sneak attack of a godly general hit its target. Moreover, it was a natural enemy of the same attribute. If Supreme Laihua didn't fall after such a heavy blow to the complacent Supreme Laihua, he must have reached the fire god realm. As soon as the storm goddess succeeded, Little One Li, Hui Tai Lang, Spirit of Chaos, and other beasts that had been lying in ambush for a long time immediately attacked. Little One Li stood behind Yu Yang and summoned the petrified snake Medusa, Storm Mermaid, Thunder Naga, and Ice Serpent Demon, the 4 guardian beasts. The 4 beasts also immediately stirred up the wind and waves. Among them, the Storm Mermaid was the most powerful. She immediately blew the storm horn, and a violent wind blew. Under the guidance of the Thunder Naga's lightning, the dark clouds in the sky immediately erupted into a violent storm. The rain was like arrows sweeping across the entire world. Most importantly, the current lake surface was already filled with water energy. The volcano whale, fisherman fish, fire dragon eel, and other war beasts that absorbed fire energy to increase their strength were suppressed to the lowest point. Flying-type, fire-type war beasts like Inferno Condor, Fuel Oil Bat, and Ghost Fire Crow all flew low and hid beside the volcano whale's huge body. They were unwilling to fight against the storm and were even more afraid of becoming the enemy's primary target. Hui Tai Lang unleashed the power of a divine beast. With the MT Tai suppression, his body exploded on the lava bridge that Supreme Laihua had paved, directly sending a few heaven-stage volcano demons flying. The bridge cracked like a spiderweb. Seeing that it still didn't collapse, Hui Tai Lang added another claw. The bridge pier broke, and the bridge collapsed into a hole. However, the entire bridge was still on the verge of collapse. Hui Tai Lang was furious. His head deformed like a drill bit and plunged into the bridge, plowing a few hundred meters and directly destroying a section of the bridge. Compared to Hui Tai Lang, who was a barbaric laborer, the spirit of primal chaos did not do this. She stared at target. She used her divine power of disaster to grab a volcano demon and crazily absorbed more than half of its fire energy. Then, she threw the unlucky guy into the ice-cold lake water. The golden blood python king and the golden tiger shark were swimming at the bottom of the lake. When they saw the guy that had cooled down after entering the water fall down, they immediately pounced on it crazily and dragged it deeper and colder to the bottom of the lake. The volcano whale spewed out lava that was even more terrifying than a volcano. The Storm Mermaid welcomed it with 1,000 feet of raging waves. The lava cooled down into rocks and fell down one by one. When a fisher fish opened its huge mouth, preparing to swallow Little One Li, who was gathering water energy, Hui Tai Lang appeared behind it and opened its mouth even bigger than the fisher fish. In its throat, one could faintly see a black hole that could swallow everything. Under the support of Yu Yang's power of the law, Hui Tai Lang directly turned into a world-destroying demon wolf and swallowed the fisher fish in one bite. The body of the fisher fish was too big. Although it was far from the size of the volcano whale, it was still not something that Hui Tai Lang could swallow in one bite. Its entire mouth was extremely swollen. The unlucky fisher fish still had its body and tail exposed. It struggled with all its might, while Hui Tai Lang swallowed with all its might. The two of them were in a deadlock. The flaming godly eagle spewed out a terrifying flame. That flame could practically burn the entire world. It was like the storm that the storm bugle had summoned also stopped, and the air was filled with heat energy. Hui Tai Lang's back was on fire, and the flames soared into the sky. However, it had the fire attribute, and, as a world-destroying demon wolf among the divine beasts, just using fire energy to deal with it would only cause pain, but not injury. It was not a fatal blow at all. Seeing that its fire attack was ineffective, the flaming godly eagle immediately circled down from the sky. Its sharp claws tore towards Hui Tai Lang's eyes. Hui Tai Lang was in the middle of biting a struggling fisher fish. How could it still attack the flaming godly eagle? It was smart enough to fall into the lake. In any case, it was not afraid of water. At most, it would be like a drowning dog. However, the fisher fish could not stand it. It was not an ordinary aquatic fish, but a fire fish that lived in a sea of fire. Once it fell into an ordinary lake, it was no different from an ordinary fish falling into a sea of fire. The threat of death made it struggle 100 times more intensely. A huge water pillar that was hundreds of meters high was created. Hui Tai Lang, who was trying his best to bite, was also in a very difficult situation, of course. It was impossible for it to let go. Now, it was just a matter of who could last until the end. With Yu Yang by its side, Hui Tai Lang was confident that it could even exhaust the volcano whale to death, let alone the fisher fish. It could not bite, and no matter how much the other party struggled, it would not let go. Walala! A giant hand suddenly reached into the lake, and steam rose up from it. From the bottom of the lake, it scooped up the fisher fish and Hui Tai Lang, who refused to let go. It was Supreme Lai Hua. As expected of an old man, he recovered in an instant. After scooping Hui Tai Lang out, Supreme Lai Hua's huge hand smashed randomly, grabbing Hui Tai Lang's tail and throwing him up and down. Together with the fisher fish, they smashed hundreds of meters of the bridge in a few seconds. Grey Wolf was in so much pain that he almost died. In the end, he couldn't take it anymore. He opened his mouth and vomited out the half-dead fisherman fish. The Storm Goddess General's second attack arrived. It landed heavily on True Lord Lai Hua's back. This time, True Lord Lai Hua was prepared. He used his other hand to block the attack and used his huge and strong body to knock the Storm Goddess General into the water. The two parts of Supreme Lai Hua's body that were hit by the Storm Goddess General were frozen. The raging flames, when being frozen, were still strangely in the state of flames. At this moment, Little Wen Li, who had not attacked all this time, moved. The two blades dragged out a silver light that was thousands of meters long and slashed at Supreme Lai Hua's frozen back. The broken ice splashed all over the sky. Supreme Lai Hua's protective energy burst out crazily, and he directly knocked Little Wen Li away. However, her divine beast made him grit his teeth, and he felt a chill penetrating into his bones, which was extremely uncomfortable. Shui Wuxia had been preparing for a long time. She raised her hand high above her head, and within 10 kilometers of her divine sense, countless water dragons soared into the sky, drenching the volcano whale, flaming condor, fire dragon eel, and other war beasts. Princess Sisai's godly sword slashed quickly, cutting a volcano monster in half, and then she swung her sword at the flaming condor. That sly and life-cherishing flaming condor naturally did not want to take the power of the godly sword head-on. It immediately rushed through several water dragons and flew close to the surface of the lake, dodging the fatal blow. The unfortunate one was the fisher fish that was just spat out by Hui Tai Lang. Still dizzy, it was heavily slashed by Princess Sisai. The light on its head was cut off, and its head was also cut 10 meters deep by the sword chi. Hui Tai Lang was overjoyed when he saw this. He immediately opened his huge mouth again and swallowed the heavily injured fisher fish for the second time. He immediately rolled over and fell into the water, and then desperately swam forward, not giving Supreme Lai Hua a second chance to save it. All of you go to hell. Supreme Lai Hua was furious. He gathered all his strength and put his burning hands together to attack Shui Wuxia. Now it understood that the real threat was not the spirit of chaos that could use the power of disaster, nor was it the demonic wolf that could devour everything. It was not even the human swordswoman who could split the sky and the earth with her divine sword. It was the female sage who had been silent all this while. She had been using her realm to suppress everyone present. The only divine general who could threaten him was actually summoned by her. If she didn't die, he would not be able to leave this lake area smoothly. Shui Wuxia's hands stretched out, and an extreme cold energy burst out from her body. The giant hand that was about to kill her was instantly frozen by the extreme cold energy that could freeze anything. Supreme Lihua widened his fiery eyes in shock. There was probably nothing in the world that couldn't be frozen by this kind of extreme cold energy, except for the Nirvana flame. Maybe it couldn't last long, but who was this human girl who could obtain this kind of extreme cold energy? Could she be the disciple of that shrew, beautiful silk fairy? At the moment when Supreme Lihua's hands were frozen, Yu Yang, who was just passing by, finally made his move. Silently, he approached True Lord Lihua's face. True Lord Lihua could casually open his mouth and swallow him into his stomach. However, for the first time, Supreme Lihua let out a scream of terror. The reason was that he suddenly realized that this inconspicuous man in front of him actually possessed the Nirvana flame. If his hands were not frozen, Supreme Lihua would have used all his strength to escape. The Nirvana flame was not a flame that he could resist and control. It was a godly flame that could control all the flames in the world. No, it was even more terrifying than the legendary fire god's godly flame. You've been arrogant for tens of thousands of years. It's time for you to shut your mouth and lie quietly in your coffin. Yu Yang exploded a pillar of Nirvana flame in front of Supreme Lihua's face, but Supreme Lihua could only watch as the pillar of Nirvana flame passed through his mouth and came out from the back of his neck, shooting straight to the sky. But there was nothing he could do. At this moment, he realized that an eternal wheel was shining brightly in front of him. An even more terrifying world-exterminating wheel came towards him. When Supreme Lihua's head was cut in half by the world-exterminating wheel, he cried out in pain. It's over. He even saw that the young man, who had completely misjudged him, took out a pure white sword chi and pierced it towards the raging flame nucleus in his head. If he wasn't trapped in this water world, if the female sage who summoned the godly general, if the female swordsman with the godly sword didn't attract his attention, if he wasn't too arrogant and underestimated his opponent's strength, if he was still in the sea of fire, perhaps none of this would have happened. It's too late. It's too late to realize everything. Chapter 892. One day later, after cutting open Supreme Lihua's head and taking out the core of raging fire, the huge body that had lost its consciousness fell on the surface of the lake. It soaked in the cold lake water for a day before it gradually hardened into a rock. As Yang needed to use the creation domain, the energy-absorbing bracelet, and the Shuang Hua sword to convert the fire energy of the core of raging fire, he didn't have time to participate in the final battle. If it wasn't for the fact that he was in a disadvantageous position and had underestimated Yu Yang's attack, even if Supreme Lihua lost, it wouldn't be that easy. Most importantly, Supreme Lihua had a body full of power, but he didn't have the body of a human and the will of a supreme martial artist, so it was hard for him to unleash his full power. Or, if Supreme Lihua was still fighting in the sea of fire, his reignite domain could also protect him from being defeated. Under the double suppression of Yu Yang's small law power and innate invisible sword chi, Supreme Lihua lost. He didn't look like an expert. Of course, no matter who underestimated Nirvana Flame, Eternal Wheel and World Exterminating Wheel, these ultimate techniques, they would be punished. Like the Nirvana Flame and the World Exterminating Wheel, as Yu Yang's strength increased, the power of the Nirvana Flame and the World Exterminating Wheel grew faster than any other abilities. Gradually, he was able to unleash his full power. With Yu Yang's current power, any one of the three would be undefeatable by anyone below the godly state. The powerful soul that was expelled from the core of raging fire carried a strong sense of unwillingness and resentment. Even with Yu Yang's current power, he wouldn't be able to destroy it. Moreover, the laws of this hourglass world didn't allow Supreme Lihua and the beautiful Silk Fairy to escape in any way. At least, before Yu Yang's will became stronger than the will of the ancient god, he wouldn't be able to bring Supreme Lihua away. Just like how Yu Yang couldn't bring Queen Vivian Li out of the black hole sealed space, no matter how hard he tried. Of course, the black hole seal was much more powerful. There was no way to escape, and there was no way to escape. In order to ensure that Supreme Lai Hua would never be able to resurrect using his field of rebirth, Yu Yang placed Supreme Lai Hua's soul in the stomach of a puppet beast. He then sank the puppet beast to the bottom of the lake and sealed it with ice that wouldn't melt for 10,000 years. Even in the future, if there was any power to break the ice and release the true Lord Lai Hua who was stored in the puppet beast's body, Yu Yang, as the creator and sealer, would be the first to know. Perhaps in the future, when he advanced to the Divine Supreme Realm, he would no longer need this kind of backwards sealing technique. But right now, this kind of seal was Yu Yang's best choice. Supreme Lai Hua's huge body, which was made of lava, had already cooled into stone. It lay quietly at the bottom of the lake, 10,000 meters away. In the middle, Yu Yang drew a heaven rune circle. It was very similar to the flame rune circle, except that it required water energy to maintain, not fire energy. Are you done? When Yu Yang finished sealing Supreme Lai Hua and came out of the water, he found that Princess Sisai, who had gone to chase after the enemy, had returned. Tigress seemed to be in a good mood as she handed a towel to Yu Yang to wipe the water stains on his body. Afterwards, seeing that Yu Yang's movements were too sloppy, she snatched the towel over and wiped him for him, which was very rare. She looked like a dutiful wife as she laughed. Without Sister Yu and the others, you can't even take care of yourself. How dare you call yourself the #1 genius of Tong Tian Tower or the #1 idiot? I'm giving you guys a chance to train your practical skills. Yu Yang laughed out loud. Who cares? Tigress rolled her eyes at him coquettishly, but her hands didn't stop. How's the result? Yu Yang enjoyed Princess Sisai's service like a master. The only thing he didn't do was to move a chair and lie down. I only killed 2 fuel oil bats. That eagle was too fast. As soon as Supreme Lai Hua fell, it immediately betrayed me and ran away. I couldn't catch up with it. Hui Tai Lang was still swallowing the fisherman's fish and couldn't help. So little when Li went to chase it personally. Princess Sisai dried Yu Yang's hair, took off his clothes, and changed him into a new set. Usually, when there were other people around, she would never care about Yu Yang's matters. But now, when there were only the 2 of them in their world, she was not fierce at all. Instead, she was like a gentle little wife, but she was not willing to admit defeat with her words. What about the fire dragon eel? Yu Yang was more concerned about 2 war beasts. One was the flaming godly eagle, which had intelligence and great potential. If Yu Yang didn't want to keep it, he would definitely kill it immediately. The other was the fire dragon eel from the bottom of the sea. This fire dragon eel was even stronger than the flaming godly eagle. But its weakness was also very obvious. The fire dragon eel was a giant war beast with pure fire attributes. It couldn't enter the water, nor could it fly for a long time. If it really fought, it would be limited by the terrain. It wasn't like the flaming godly eagle, which could fight everywhere except in the water. In terms of cultivation value, giant war beasts weren't as good as smaller war beasts, because the chances of them turning into holy beasts in the future were really slim. It surrendered. When the storm goddess grabbed its tail, it immediately surrendered. Princess Sisai lowered her head to help Yu Yang wipe his body as she replied. Its loyalty wasn't high in the first place. When the other war beasts attacked us, it was the only one slowly hiding behind. I guess it wasn't the war beast of Supreme Lai Hua. It was just sealed together in this sea of fire and had no choice but to submit. Yu Yang was overjoyed. It didn't matter if the flaming godly eagle could catch up. At least this trip wasn't in vain. Other than the beautiful silk umbrella, there was also the fire dragon eel from the bottom of the sea. This was also a good war beast. When Princess Sisai helped Yu Yang change his underwear, she found something standing upright like a spear. It was masculine, spirited, and murderous, as if it was about to start a big battle at any time. Her cheeks couldn't help but blush. With a little embarrassment and anger, she spat lightly. What do you want? What are you thinking about all day long? She reached out and patted him lightly, but as soon as she touched him, she quickly retracted as if she was scalded. Yu Yang laughed. This is a natural reaction. If I can't even get up with a beautiful woman serving me, then what hope is there in life? He forcefully pulled her little hand and insisted on letting her touch it. Princess Sisai resisted with all her might at first, but realized that Yu Yang couldn't resist her. She quickly touched him, but her hand retracted as if it was bitten by a snake. Her face was completely red, and even her neck was burning hot. She turned her head and looked around. When she realized that Shui Wuxia hadn't returned, her tone immediately became louder. "What's wrong with that? It's not like I haven't seen it before. I've even kissed it before." She accidentally revealed a big secret. Yu Yang was stunned. Princess Sisai knew that she had said something wrong and became even more flustered. She hurriedly waved her hands to defend herself. "That was a bet with Xuanyo. She said that she'd dare to kiss you, so naturally I couldn't admit defeat." "Why didn't I know?" Yu Yang was very regretful. How could he miss such a beautiful moment? You were already unconscious at that time. Okay. Princess Sisai saw that his face was filled with regret, and her heart couldn't help but give birth to a tender love. She hugged him and kissed him lightly on the lips. "All right, I also know that it's wrong to fight with you, but who asked you to make me angry all the time? After this kiss, we're even. I won't be angry with you, and you're not allowed to be angry with me. One more kiss." Yu Yang would never be satisfied with the current situation. "No, Xuanyo will be back soon." Princess Sisai refused. She looked around worriedly and hurriedly helped Yu Yang put on his clothes, afraid that Shui Wuxia would see her helping Yu Yang put on his clothes. "She won't be back so soon. I have a feeling that she's still fighting in a faraway place." "Hey, is she chasing after that volcano whale?" Yu Yang struck while the iron was hot and hugged Tigress, whose body had gone limp in his arms. His tongue penetrated her lips and gave her a suffocating kiss. When his naughty hand reached into her clothes, Tigress woke up with a start. She grabbed his big hand and panted slightly. "No, she's really coming back soon. Once you've succeeded, you won't let go. If I let go, you'll tear off my clothes. Scoundrel, at night, I'll let you hug me to sleep. If Xuanyo sees you messing around here during the day, I won't have the face to see anyone. Quickly put on your clothes. She's coming back soon." Oh my God, she's coming back so fast. In the distant sky, there was a star shining. In an instant, it had already landed in front of Yu Yang and Princess Sisai. It was Shui Wuxia, who was holding the Book of Truth. She looked at Yu Yang and Princess Sisai with a smile and didn't say a word. Yu Yang was thick-skinned, so he didn't say anything. On the other hand, Princess Sisai, who was still blushing, said with a guilty conscience, "It's good that you're back. This brat looks like a drowned rat. I don't want to serve him. Xuanyo, who is as gentle as water, you do it." Shui Wuxiao walked up and suddenly pulled the big hand that Yu Yang had just touched on Princess Sisai's big hand. She sniffed it with her small nose. She didn't say anything, but just smiled and looked at Princess Sisai. However, Princess Qianqian's face immediately turned red. She argued. "He forced it." Yu Yang also raised his hand. "Yes, I touched it forcefully. I can prove it." Princess Sisai was embarrassed and angry at the same time. She fiercely stepped on his foot, grabbed his big hand, and stretched it towards Shui Wuxia. You can't favor one and discriminate against the other. Touch Xuanyo too. She thought that Shui Wuxia would scream in fear and run away. Who knew that Shui Wuxia didn't panic at all? Instead, she was still smiling. Instead, she gracefully held Yu Yang's hand and pressed it on her towering breasts. Princess Sisai was dumbfounded. She never thought that the Xuanyo would be so brave. Yu Yang, on the other hand, had a blissful expression as if he was about to faint. He still couldn't believe that this was real. "Actually, there's nothing wrong with kissing you secretly. I won't be jealous." Shui Wuxiao mischievously teased Princess Sisai. After she finished, she suddenly sighed. "I didn't realize it before, but after this battle with Lord Laihua, I suddenly realized that the innate sovereign strength with the human body is the true innate sovereign strength. No wonder holy beasts and divine beasts have to transform into humans in the end. It turns out that the human body is so important. Indeed, the human body seems to be the weakest. It doesn't have horns, fangs, claws, or scales. It doesn't have any other outstanding external specialties. It only has intelligence. However, it's precisely because of this that the weakest starting point, when one grows up and becomes the strongest, that is the true strength. Without a human body, even if one has super powerful strength, he can't use it 100%. For tens of thousands of years, Lord Lihua didn't realize that the various combat skills he had when he was alive, as well as the various combat methods that could only be used in a human body, had completely disappeared. After Yu Yang concluded, he asked Shui Wuxia curiously, "Why did you suddenly think of this?" "I was thinking of the volcano whale that was captured just now. Its size and level, and even its strength was not inferior to my storm goddess. However, it lost miserably and had almost no power to fight back. Although it would take a few days for Storm to completely defeat it, the volcano whale had no chance of turning the tables, just like how Lord Lihua didn't stand a chance in your hands. If the volcano whale and Lord Lihua had a human body, I'm afraid this battle wouldn't be so simple." Shui Wuxia put a coat on Yu Yang and carefully tidied up his collar. "In the future, the enemies will become stronger and stronger. If we don't speed up our progress and step into the supremacy realm, I'm afraid we won't be able to help." "They will definitely step into the supremacy realm. I have a hunch." Princess Sisai's 6 records talent had a strong 6th sense. She felt that one of her and Shui Wuxia would definitely step into the supremacy realm in a short time, but she wasn't sure who it would be. Chapter 893. With the help of Yu Yang, Shui Wuxia, and Princess Sisai, the storm goddess finally defeated the scarred volcano whale after a day of continuous bombardment. The volcano whale would rather die than surrender. However, the blow it received was too hard to bear. The storm goddess was about to freeze it into a salted fish. The most terrifying thing was the torture of Yu Yang's little code power in Pandora's box. Under the double attack of the little code power and the disaster divine power, the volcano whale could neither live nor die. It had been tortured by Yu Yang's various experiments. In the end, it found that Hui Tai Lang was still not satisfied after swallowing the fisherman fish. It looked like it wanted to swallow another one. It had no choice but to lower its head and admit defeat to the storm goddess. Little One Li, who was chasing after the raging flame condor, was much faster than the storm goddess. The intelligent raging flame condor knew that it was difficult to escape. Under Little One Li's binding inherent skill, it was injured several times. It had no power to fight back and surrendered early. The spirit of chaos was focused on absorbing fire energy. The 2 Willow, the Wisp Crows, were willing to surrender, but she ignored them and killed the volcano monsters along the way. At the same time, she chased into the sea of fire and killed the 2 Willow, the Wisp Crows, like a fish in water. If it wasn't for the delay in killing the volcano monsters, the 2 Willow, the Wisp Crows, would have died. The 2 Willow, the Wisp Crows, were so scared that they circled around and fled to Yu Yang's side to seek shelter. In the face of an opponent like the spirit of chaos, if they did not surrender, there was only one consequence. That was to be swallowed directly. Unfortunately, I didn't get more information. What Yu Yang wanted the most was not a few war beasts of heaven stage, but more ancient secrets. Especially the secrets about the 6 divine weapons and the ancient runes. The more the better. Take it slow. Maybe after entering the gods' ruins, we will really open the ancient secret door. Shui Wuxia comforted Yu Yang softly. "What should we do with these beasts?" Princess Sisai asked. Of course, he would bring them out. If he left them here, it would be like releasing a tiger back into the mountains. Of course, Yu Yang wouldn't do such a thing. The problem was that beasts like the volcano whale, fire dragon eel, flaming godly eagle, and willow Wisp Crow were not only of high levels, they were also mature and had almost no value in nurturing them. After all, not every beast had the fortune to enter the Beast Valley and be reborn. To Yu Yang, these beasts were not bad at the moment and could still be used. However, in the future, they would definitely pale in comparison to Hui Tai Lang, chaotic spirit, and other beasts with unlimited potential. Yu Yang also didn't like beasts that had such obvious strengths and weaknesses. Just the fact that it had such a huge body made him lose interest in cultivating it. The beasts that surrendered, such as the volcano whale and the fire dragon eel, were all large or extremely large beasts. Let's not talk about nurturing them first. If they were brought out to the soaring dragon continent, it would be a headache. These powerful and huge beasts, if they were to roll around in the soaring dragon continent, it would cause an earthquake and affect many places. Hence, even if they were brought out, they couldn't be placed in the soaring dragon continent. If they were placed in the heaven realm, they might run away one day. That wouldn't be good either. After thinking about it, Yu Yang decided to place these unexpected beasts in the Thunder Fortress on the 6th floor of Tong Tian Tower. The lava lake there would be their paradise. This fellow is too big, terrifying. However, it's really impressive. It's a heaven-ranked level 6 beast, and it's also an extremely large beast. This fellow's publicity is really top-notch. Out of Yu Yang's expectations, the old cunning fox, Jun Wu, and the other old fellows all ran to the Thunder Fortress after hearing the news. If it wasn't for Yu Yang's opposition, they would have invited the volcano whale that could splash lava thousands of meters back to the soaring dragon continent to settle down. Master is really too great. Jiao the fat toad trembled with excitement. As Yu Yang's servant, his status also rose. Not only the merchants who needed his help, even the innate rankers would nod politely when they saw him. Because Yu Yang's harvest this time was quite bountiful, Elder Nangong, Sky Execution, Dragon Emperor, Underworld Emperor, and the others also came to watch. When they saw that Yu Yang had subdued a volcano whale that was several kilometers long, he had also captured a flaming godly hawk and a fire dragon eel from the bottom of the sea, and even 2 ghost fire crows that were as timid as mice, although they had the strength of Heaven Stage Level 2. In the end, Sky's Execution used the treasure of the demonic hall, the great heavenly demon orb, to exchange for the 2 willow, the wisp crows with the second strongest heavenly demon folk, Sky's Wrath. Emperor of the Underworld drooled as he watched. He also wanted to exchange, but his treasure, the Eye of the Underworld, was only a holy treasure. It wasn't as powerful as a demonic orb, a semi-divine weapon, so he could only watch Sky Wrath contract the ghost fire crows. As for the fire dragon eel and the flaming condor, they were even more out of his league. These 2 were too strong and had intelligence. He wasn't confident that he could completely subdue them. Maybe one day they would betray him and run away. Yu Yang was also interested in the Eye of the Underworld. He patted his chest and promised Emperor of the Underworld that he would find a powerful and valuable war beast for him. The great demon King Baruth, who arrived a step later, also wanted to exchange a war beast with Yu Yang, but he didn't want anything else. He wanted a black dragon. He even said that riding a black dragon was a demon king tradition passed down from ancient times. Was a black dragon easy to ride? Yu Yang, who had kept the magic bottle, stopped complaining. Because of my training, I won't go to the trial grounds immediately. I'll be wandering around the heaven realm for a few days. If I find a suitable war beast, I'll definitely pay attention to it. Trust me, I won't be wrong. Yu Yang secretly rejoiced. These old fellows actually had quite a lot of treasures. He had to squeeze them out even more. Training is still more important. We're just letting nature take its course. Elder Nangong valued Yu Yang the most and advised him not to be too distracted. Of course, we'll look for more when we have time, but I believe we'll get a suitable war beast soon. Emperor of the Underworld was very confident in Yu Yang. If Yu Yang told him the truth, he would definitely be scared to death with the invincible advantage of the innate Elder Level 8, Lord Lai Hua, in the Sea of Fire. Is there really no one who wants the Fire Dragon Eel and Flaming Condor? Yu Yang still wanted to make the last promotion. It's okay if they're strong, but they're too intelligent. It's hard to tame an adult war beast with intelligence. Dragon Emperor even hinted that if Yu Yang didn't want to contract them, it would be best to kill them to avoid future troubles. Although the 2 war beasts, the Fire Dragon Eel and Flaming Condor, had a certain level of intelligence, it was impossible for them to become holy beasts. Of course, there was still some value in training them. The chaotic spirit had always wanted to eat them and absorb fire energy, but Yu Yang didn't give her the chance. He let the Reaper Mantis sister, who had a super elemental body, to contract them. The Reaper Mantis sister, plus the 2 war beasts, if they became divine beasts, the 3 of them could work together and work together. Then they could be independent in the future. This was the best solution that Yu Yang thought of. 1 small and 2 big ones. If it wasn't for the fact that their attributes were incompatible, the enemy would have a headache. Hui Tai Lang's stomach bulged. No one knew that it had swallowed a huge, strange-faced fish. Even now, it hadn't finished digesting. The others were too busy looking at the captive war beasts and didn't pay attention to it. It wasn't until they returned to the Tian Luo Palace that little Shuang Air discovered the dog's abnormality. "Brother, what's wrong with the dog? Look, did it eat something wrong? Why can't it close its mouth?" Yu Shuang tiptoed and stroked Hui Tai Lang's forehead with some effort. "This is the result of gluttony," Yu Yang said, scaring little Shuang Air so much that her face turned pale. In a certain aspect, the little girl's gluttony was comparable to Hui Tai Lang's gluttony. Hearing that gluttony had caused such a scene, she was so scared that she quickly covered her mouth, afraid that her mouth would be like Hui Tai Lang's. Because of the long-term dislocation of her jaw, her mouth was damaged, and she couldn't close it even if she wanted to. Hui Tai Lang's mouth was crooked, but he was very proud. Not everyone could swallow that heaven-ranked level 4 fish. If he could digest this fish, his strength would definitely increase greatly. Crooking his mouth for a few days was nothing. "What? You don't want candy?" As usual, Yu Yang took out candy to tempt the little girl. However, the little girl was afraid that if she ate too much, she would be like Hui Tai Lang, who couldn't close his mouth. She rejected him with all her might and almost cried. In the end, it was Xue Wuxia who brought her to Xin Yang that Yu Yang was at peace. Princess Sisai happily took the silk umbrella and went to find Yu so that she wouldn't disturb Yu Yang's training. "Study it slowly. If you discover any secrets, we'll discuss it again." Princess Sisai left with light footsteps. She seemed to be in a good mood. The great demonic orb is really a good thing. The eyes of the underworld is also not bad. Even a magic bottle that Baruth gave me has a strange energy. It seems to be a treasure from the ancient times. I can study it. Yu Yang originally wanted to study the ancient flame rune circle drawn by Lord Laihua. However, since Sickly Beauty and Yu weren't around, he didn't want to waste time on them. So he decided to wait for them to come back first. As for the great demonic orb that he exchanged with the willow, whisk crows, Yu Yang didn't discover any more secrets. However, he realized that the eyes of the underworld seemed to be able to be embedded in the hollow space between the Gemini mask's eyebrows. Could it be that there was an eye in the hollow space between the Gemini mask's eyebrows? Because of the seal, the Gemini mask was only a gold-level treasure. After Yu Yang used Nirvana's flame to reconstruct its outer appearance many times, the broken mask had almost completely recovered. Its power was also close to the level of a semi-god weapon. It turned out that the area between the eyebrows, which Yu Yang thought was a crack, also had a perfect circular hollow. Yu Yang had tried everything, but he couldn't find a suitable filling. He thought that the part in the middle was broken and lost. It wasn't until the Emperor of the Underworld took out the Underworld clan's treasure, the eyes of the Underworld. When Yu Yang compared the two, he was surprised to find that it seemed to fit. This Gemini mask still had one last seal that couldn't be unlocked. What other secrets did it contain? What was the truth? Chapter 894. Yu Yang studied the Gemini mask for a long time. He couldn't find the answer. Although he had a feeling that he almost found the truth, he couldn't grasp it. He wandered in that kind of hazy fog, thinking hard but to no avail. In the end, he decided to talk to His Majesty. According to Fourth Mother's words, His Majesty seemed to have asked about the progress of the beast bracelet recently. On the other hand, this proved that His Majesty, who had been judged by Yu Yang to be a taciturn, flirtatious type, had already forgiven him a little. Yu Yang understood this principle very well. He had to strike while the iron was hot in everything he did. Yu Yang was abnormally busy preparing. He threw away his rice bowl and studied until 3 in the morning. In the dead of night, Yu Yang sneaked into His Majesty's bedroom again. This time, when the female official on duty saw him, She was no longer surprised, but she still pretended not to see him and let Yu Yang sneak in. Yu Yang was very self-aware. He first moved a stool and sat in front of His Majesty's bed. He was very patient and waited for 10 minutes without saying a word. Suddenly, a pillow was thrown out from the curtain and hit Yu Yang's face. "It's you again, you brat. You always come to my place in the middle of the night. I will kill you. Don't be angry." Yu Yang took the pillow and hugged it in his arms. He then handed over the semi-finished beast bracelet in his hands. "Look, under His Majesty's inspiration, I have already completed half of it. I realize that your place is really quiet. When I think about it here, I have a lot of inspiration. I will hang you in the Black Water Dungeon's pool. It will be even quieter, and you will have more inspiration." His Majesty was furious. "All right, I said the wrong thing last time. I apologize to you. I think you're actually not bad. You should not be a taciturn, flirtatious type, nor are you a wretched type like Fatty High. You should be like me, a suave and unrestrained type who doesn't even leave a single leaf behind. Otherwise, how could we hit it off so well? Bosom friend, do you know? When it comes to picking up girls, we can be considered bosom friends." Yu Yang patted his chest, expressing that finding a soulmate in the high mountains and flowing rivers was difficult, but finding a soulmate was difficult. Hence, he shouldn't bother about these small matters. "If you say one more word, I'll slap you." His Majesty was so angry that his voice became distorted. "We're all men. There are some things that we've already said. Don't take it too seriously. Besides, anger can easily harm the liver. If the liver isn't good, the kidneys won't be good either. If the kidneys aren't good, then what hope is there in life?" Yu Yang said that men should be more broad-minded. His Majesty choked. What was he talking about? Let's study this beast bracelet. Although it hasn't been officially completed, I believe you can see its characteristics now. I was prepared to create a space similar to a storage ring. It didn't need to be very big, just enough for the beast to hibernate. This way, it would be similar to a bronze grimoire. Of course, this space could not be upgraded, at least not automatically. When a warrior contracts a beast with a suitable attribute, then this space would be the home of that beast. The runic circle and crystal stones outside are the energy needed to summon the runic circle and maintain it. Of course, this is not enough. I'm just making a small example here. The finished product is not enough. I believe you can understand. I'm here to rush the work, so I'm anxious to discuss with you. There's no need to discuss the runic circle and crystals. I think the most difficult thing is how to communicate with the warrior's soul. His Majesty saw that this brat was talking about serious matters, so he couldn't get angry at him. That's the most important part. I still have to discuss with Wu Hen, Wu Xia, and Sister Yu how to build the best soul sensing runic circle on the beast bracelet without harming the warrior's soul. I have a plan in mind, but it's not very mature, so I didn't dare to take it out. I'm afraid of your criticism. I'm very afraid of you. Yu Yang's face showed a timid expression. You're so bold that you're afraid? His Majesty couldn't help but ridicule him. All men are like this. If you see a beauty's snow-white body, your Majesty will definitely be moved. Yu Yang laughed. The saint said that appetite and lust are part of human nature. My self-control is already considered good. Continue to brag. His Majesty really couldn't stand Yu Yang's attitude. Could you be any more shameless? Brag? No, I've always despised people who brag. I've always told the truth. Yu Yang's words almost made His Majesty fall down. All right. I know very well what kind of person you are. There's no need to advertise anymore. Let's return the topic to the beast bracelet. His Majesty felt helpless towards this brat's shamelessness. But then again, His Majesty sincerely admired Yu Yang's talent and wisdom. If it was someone else, they really wouldn't be able to make this kind of beast bracelet. Even if they had the same design, if it was placed on someone else's table, they wouldn't be able to replicate it. This was where His Majesty couldn't help but acknowledge Yu Yang. I want Your Majesty to help me with two small things. Yu Yang finally stated his intentions. Let's hear it. His Majesty became vigilant. If it was some kind of unfair treaty, he definitely couldn't agree to it. Who was this brat? He was even scarier than a big tiger. Once he knew the truth, he might take a mile after taking an inch. His Majesty decided that if this brat proposed any unreasonable conditions, he would immediately chase him out of his bedroom and never allow him to come back. Yu Yang muttered to himself for a while, making His Majesty's heart even more guilty. It's over. Could it be that this brat was suspicious? If he had known earlier, he would have chased him away last time. He was really too soft-hearted. In his heart, he was a little nervous. Suddenly, he heard Yu Yang say, "The first area that I need help with is regarding the beast bracelet. Although I have some experience in this area, I hope that everyone can share their experience with each other. I need more information on beasts and warriors' characteristics in order to create a testing instrument that is suitable for different kinds of needs. You also know that this is very important. If this test is wrong, then the whole life of the warrior will be affected." Hearing this, His Majesty's heart relaxed. "Okay, but I can't say too much for a while. I'll prepare in the next few days. When the time comes, I'll write down my experience and let someone bring it to you." Yu Yang was so happy that he threw down his pillow and cheered. "Great! I knew you would agree." His Majesty couldn't help but feel happy when he saw him happy like a child. This brat, if not for his lecherous side, was still a child. He was so easily satisfied. No wonder she said that he was actually very easy to coax. It was true. His Majesty held back his laughter and added, "Not only my experience, but I can also ask several war gods of war to participate in this matter and fully cooperate with you." Yu Yang pretended to wipe his tears. "I'm so touched that my tears are about to flow out. Please wait a little longer." His Majesty was speechless. What's the second condition? Seeing this brat's funny behavior, His Majesty couldn't help but laugh. Pretending to be serious, His Majesty coughed slightly, indicating that if he wanted to say it, then hurry up. He was going to rest. It's very simple. I want Your Majesty to help me talk about the Eye of the Underworld. I want to know its origin and its later mutation. This was the real purpose of Yu Yang. Why do you trouble me with everything? I don't know. His Majesty was a little angry. I think you should know. I can't find anyone to ask. The Night Empress is not here. Jizun, I don't dare to ask her about such a small matter. Before Yu Yang finished speaking, His Majesty flew into a rage again. Jizun, you don't dare to bother her, but you can come and bother me? Am I especially easy to bully? I'm warning you. Don't make me angry, otherwise I can also deal with you. For this kind of thing, can't you ask Nangong, who is almost stupid from reading books all day long? Are you nearby? I'm too lazy to look for Senior Nangong. Besides, you're here to tell me. It's just convenient." Yu Yang's mischievous smile made His Majesty feel as if he was punching cotton. Sometimes, he really couldn't do anything to this brat. What do you want the Eye of the Underworld for? His Majesty was curious. It's like this. I realize that the Eye of the Underworld is very compatible with my Gemini mask, but I can't embed it back, so I came to ask you. I feel that if I can embed it back, I might be able to find the secret to breaking the last layer of the seal. In that case, my Gemini mask might evolve, or even return to being a divine equipment. Yu Yang's words were honest. Regarding the Eye of the Underworld, I know a little, but I won't tell you. His Majesty felt that when it was time to punish this brat, if he didn't beg bitterly, he wouldn't tell him and let him be anxious. "Big brother, I'm begging you, okay?" For the sake of the divine equipment, Yu Yang was indeed very anxious. "You call me big brother?" His Majesty was very speechless. "No, you heard wrong. I actually called you Your Majesty. Don't bother with calling me big brother here. Don't tell me you want to call me big sister." Yu Yang pestered endlessly. "You should have a better attitude when begging others." His Majesty was a little pleased. There would come a day when this brat would be caught in my hands. If you don't beg me properly, don't even think about knowing this secret. Even if you don't beg me today, when you go to see Nangong and find out that he doesn't know the whole truth, you still have to come back. The world's most brilliant, godly, handsome, unrestrained, brave, valiant, and heroic Tan Luo Majesty, please tell the ignorant me about the secret of the Eye of the Underworld. Yu Yang flattered. Continue talking until I tell you to stop. His Majesty snorted lightly. Your Majesty, your toot Sundara. Yu Yang didn't cooperate. You get out of here immediately. His Majesty's extremely good mood was instantly shattered. Originally, he was still a little soft-hearted and was prepared to tell him the secret. Who knew that this brat was actually so annoying? Would it kill him to let his mood be good for a while longer? I was wrong, I was wrong. Yu Yang shouted loudly. Seeing that he was so eager to express his regret, His Majesty decided to give him a chance and listen to what he had to say. Yu Yang immediately bowed. His attitude was quite respectful, but his words weren't quite right. I was wrong, I was really wrong. I shouldn't have said it, even though I knew that your Majesty likes to flatter, causing your Majesty to not feel any pleasure. This is my fault, my failure. I was wrong. I have decided to change. Your Majesty, I promise that this time, I will definitely make you feel extremely comfortable and pleasurable. You're practically courting death. His Majesty was furious. He rushed out of the curtains for the second time and kicked Yu Yang, who was bowing with his hands clasped in front, into a shooting star. Pleasurable? Brat, can you say it even more vile? I haven't even bickered with you about that inwardly coquettish comment last time. Chapter 895. Although he couldn't obtain the secret of the eye of the underworld from His Majesty, Yu Yang wasn't worried. When His Majesty's anger subsides, he would definitely tell him. There was no need to be anxious, and he couldn't be anxious. Xue Wuxia had been discussing something with Fourth Mother for the past 2 days. Yu Yang had been beating around the bush for a long time, but she refused to say anything. Princess Sisai's tigress had gone to the heaven stairway to find Yu Yu and hadn't returned. She was probably trying to convince Yu Yu. What was it? Yu Yang couldn't understand. In the end, he was too lazy to think about it, and could only focus on the research of the beast bracelet. Yu Yu hadn't returned, so there was no one to help Yu Yang. In the end, it was Drunken Cat who couldn't stand it anymore and took the initiative to help. She thought it was an easy job, but who knew that after Yu Yang's experiments exploded a few times, she almost had a heart attack. The failure rate of this experiment was too high. Fortunately, she only came to help for a few days. If this continued for a long time, Drunken Cat felt that she would go crazy. Only Yu Yu would be willing to work so hard and accompany him to do experiments every day with a smile on her face. Lunatic, stop researching. This is definitely not right. Let's try something else. Drunken Cat saw that Yu Yang had failed 3 times and still insisted on the same experiment. She couldn't bear it anymore and raised her objection. Originally, she had promised Yu Yang that she wouldn't object no matter what he did. Who knew that she would object to Yu Yang's research before even a day had passed? Failure is normal. If a research doesn't fail a few hundred times, it won't be able to stand. Even if the research is successful, it still needs to be tested in all aspects. Forget it. I won't explain too much to you. For a silly girl like you, talking too much is just a waste of my saliva. Yu Yang's expression was like an expert in the celestial empire looking down on the doubts of the netizens. He was just short of saying what I say is the truth. Drunken Cat was intimidated by his authority and could only remain silent in the end. Let me tell you, actually, doing this experiment is extremely dangerous. The most important thing is to have a good memory. The steps cannot be wrong, not even a little bit. If you have a memory like mine, then it will be fine. Huh, strange. Where did my scarlet flame magic crystal go? Yu Yang muttered to himself. What happens if I do the wrong step? The Drunken Cat Big Sis turned pale with fright when she heard this. It will explode. Yu Yang replied without raising his head. Did you just say that the crimson flame magic crystal is missing? Drunken Cat was sweating profusely, and a chill ran down her spine. I've already found it. I forgot to put it into the runic circle at the bottom. However, I can't find my blue ice magic crystal no matter what. Yu Yang turned the ground upside down to look for it. Oh no! Drunken Cat remembered that this kid had just put the blue ice magic crystal into the middle rune circle. She was so scared that she turned around and ran, but it was too late. Rumble! A violent explosion occurred in the middle of the runic circle. The shockwave threw Drunken Cat to a corner, and she was almost buried alive by the debris from the explosion. When she got up, she realized that there was a big hole in her clothes. Although she was fine, she felt a chill down her spine. Looking at Yu Yang again, he had already exploded to the roof. He was like a piece of smoked meat hanging on the roof. He was completely black, and she could barely see that he was a humanoid creature. Drunken Cat waited for Yu Yang to fall down. She realized that only the whites of his eyes and his teeth were white. Drunken Cat shouted at Yu Yang crazily. "Didn't you say that your memory is very good?" Yu Yang scratched his head. "My memory is indeed not bad, but I don't remember the location of the magic crystals. Those things are usually arranged by Sister Rain. I'm only responsible for receiving the things that she passed to me." When he said this, Drunken Cat blushed. She recalled that she seemed to be a little careless when she cooperated with him just now. Because of the few explosions, her mood was affected. It seemed that she made a mistake when she took the red flame magic crystal and blue ice magic crystal. Maybe the failure of this experiment was not because of him, but because of herself. Realizing her mistake, the Drunken Cat Big Sis felt quite guilty and was no longer angry at him. Of course, it was impossible for her to admit her mistake directly. She decided to go out to wash her face and adjust her mood. At the same time, she changed her clothes and came back to cooperate with his experiment. This time, she must cooperate with him 100% seriously. When the Drunken Cat Big Sis went out to wash off the mud and dirt on her face, adjusted her state of mind, and changed into a new set of clothes, she returned to the laboratory. She discovered that Yu Yang, whose body was still burnt black, had already started another round of experiments. She quickly went up and rushed to clean up the mess on the floor. She also gave him the items that he needed according to his requirements. Boom! A deafening explosion sounded again. The shockwave sent Drunken Cat, who was cleaning up, flying and smashing into the wall. The things that she had cleaned up were scattered all over the room. She did not clean up properly and instead made it even more messy. The Drunken Cat Big Sis almost cried. Was it really so difficult for her to do something? She clenched her teeth and continued to clean up. When she was done, she found that Yu Yang had made an even bigger and more complicated rune circle. Because of the incomparably precise drawing and control of the energy, he could not free himself to do anything for the next 10 minutes. Even when he was talking, his eyes had to stare at the rune circle. Seeing that he was sweating profusely and that his face that was originally burnt black from the explosion had white marks on it, she could not help but feel a little soft in her heart. Actually, this brat was quite serious about his work. Although he was a little lecherous usually, he was very serious when it came to experiments. He was like a completely different person. Drunken Cat remembered that she had seen Yu Yu cooperate with Yu Yang's experiments before. She copied Yu Yu and brought a towel over to wipe his sweat. "Idiot, don't cover my eyes when you wipe your sweat," Yu Yang scolded. Drunken Cat wanted to say that he could wipe his sweat if he wanted, and that she did not want to serve him. But the words rushed to her mouth, and she swallowed them back. When Yu Yu wiped his sweat, he would definitely not scold her, right? She had always been very gentle and considerate. She knew what to do and what not to do. She had to be more humble. Although she felt wronged, Drunken Cat endured it. She carefully wiped his sweat and brought a glass of water over for him to drink. Who knew that Yu Yang was in the middle of his nervous research? He angrily scolded, "Stay away from me. Even if the sky falls and the earth shatters, don't bother me." Her good intentions were struck by lightning. Drunken Cat gritted her teeth and almost poured the glass of water on his head. But in the end, she endured it. She reckoned that Yu Yu would not disturb him at this time. She was still in the wrong. Putting the water aside, Drunken Cat waited for a long time. She felt that he still had to drink the water. Otherwise, he would become a jerky just from sweating. What would she do? If Yu was here, what would she do? Feed it with a spoon? No, he definitely did not have the time to feed him mouthfuls of water with a spoon. That would be too slow. If this didn't work, then what should she do? What did Yu Yu usually do? She would definitely have a way, because Yu Yu would not let her baby brother die of thirst. Drunken Cat thought for a long time. Finally, she thought of the straw that Yu Yang made for little Shuang, to blow bubbles. Yes, this thing would definitely work. Thinking of this, Drunken Cat hurriedly searched the house, but it was not there. She immediately rushed out and ran into Fourth Mother and little Shuang, room. She rummaged through little Shuang, treasure chest, and found a few unused straws. She did not have time to return the little girl's treasure chest to its original position. She hurriedly ran back and placed a straw in the glass. Seeing that Yu Yang really did not have the time to care about her, she raised the straw and placed it on his lips. "Give me another glass." Yu Yang didn't praise her. His entire mind was focused on his research, so he didn't have the time to talk too much. At this moment, the runic circle was flashing. It was as complicated as the stars, changing endlessly. Yu Yang used all his methods to memorize its changes. He couldn't waste even a second. "Okay." Drunken Cat was overjoyed. She immediately rushed to pour another glass of water. On the way, she found that a torn sleeve was too troublesome. She just tore it off. When she finished tearing off the sleeves, she remembered something. Yu, who came out of the laboratory, usually wore sleeveless clothes. She probably tore them off because long sleeves would affect her work, or maybe she didn't even wear clothes with sleeves at all. When Drunken Cat turned around to pour the water, she found that the runic circle was flashing rapidly. Oh no, it's going to explode. She first thought of dodging, but when she looked at Yu Yang, she saw that he was staring at her intently. If he wanted to dodge, no explosion would be able to hit him. With his domain power, he could also resist any explosion in the experiment. However, he did not leave. Instead, he kept staring at the last change of the runic circle. He did not care about the explosion that would happen in the next second. Rumble. The big explosion came as expected. Drunken Cat placed her hands in front of her face to resist the shockwave of the big explosion. Although her newly changed clothes were full of holes, she found that it did not matter at all. Now, she kind of understood Yu Yu's mentality when she cooperated with Yu Yang to do the experiment. As long as he could succeed, why would she care about anything else? So what if it was just a piece of clothing? Moreover, in this room, other than him, no one else would see her. Even this brat did not have time to look at her. Her clothes were torn and tattered. So who could see her? What made Drunken Cat the most was that she remembered that before the first explosion, the runic circle only had 2 layers of changes. Later, when she was about to throw a tantrum and leave, the runic circle had already turned into a complicated combination of 3 layers. And just now, other than the 3 layers, there was also an additional supporting runic circle. In other words, although the explosion failed again and again, he was actually improving. He would rather endure the explosion and persevere to find out the truth. It was also this kind of spirit, this kind of attitude, that allowed him to improve again and again in his research. Others always envied Yu Clan's 3rd young master's success, but they completely did not know how much sweat and effort this brat had put in on the road to success. Drunken Cat saw it and felt touched in her heart. His memory must be extremely good. How could he make a mistake between the 2 materials, the red flame magic crystal and the blue ice magic crystal? This was not a joke. It was just that he was too focused, wholeheartedly recording the changes of the runic circle. In reality, outside of his spirit, he was muddle-headed, mistaking the materials for the red flame magic crystal and the blue ice magic crystal. When he was doing experiments, he was completely immersed in them, forgetting everything else, even forgetting to drink water when he was thirsty. It was because of this that he needed Yu, who understood him the most, to cooperate with him. Again, let's do it again. Drunken Cat suddenly understood. She suppressed the emotions in her heart, stepped forward and patted Yu Yang's shoulder. "You come and restore the runic circle. I will pass the materials to you. This time, I will definitely not make a mistake." Question mark. Yu Yang looked at her strangely, not understanding. Wasn't she very angry just now? She seemed to be in a good mood now. What was going on? Wipe your sweat first. Drunken Cat found that she had never been so gentle before. She carefully used a towel to wipe his blackened face, controlling her movements, trying not to affect the process of restoring the runic circle. Seeing that Yu Yang's clothes had been blown up beyond recognition, she simply tore it off. Forget it. It's not like she had never seen this brat's body before. Anyway, it was just an experiment. Why should she care about this? Besides, Yu did not care. What was there to be afraid of? Rumble. Again. Boom. I'm fine again. With Drunken Cat's wholehearted cooperation, Yu Yang's research on the runic circle on the beast bracelet continued to make progress. 3 days later, when Princess Sisai invited Yu back from the heaven stairway, when the two girls pushed open the crumbling door of the laboratory, they were surprised to find that the naked drunken cat was gently wiping the sweat of Yu Yang, who was also naked. The two of them were completely immersed in the process of the experiment, and did not even notice that Princess Sisai and Yu had entered. Princess Sisai was dumbfounded. She had never seen such a gentle and considerate drunken cat. As for Yu, she was smiling. Chapter 896. When Drunken Cat woke up and opened her eyes, she found herself lying on a bed. Princess Sisai sat on the edge of the bed, thinking about something. Wasn't she cooperating with Yu Yang to do the experiment? Drunken Cat first reacted this way. Then she remembered that after cooperating with Yu Yang to complete the 72-star spiral diagram, she fainted because of severe mental exhaustion. Although the 72-star spiral diagram was only a combination of the top, middle, and bottom 3 diagrams, to be able to complete, it was still a breakthrough for the Warbeast bracelet. With it as the research standard, she believed that the other 2 diagrams would also be completed quickly. Fortunately, she had made a little contribution. Before she fainted, she helped him complete the most difficult 72-star spiral diagram. She exhaled, sat up, and found that she was actually naked. Only then did she remember that because of the successive explosions, her and his clothes had long been blown up. At that time, she was so engrossed in it that she didn't feel anything, but now she felt very embarrassed and shy. At that time, she actually stayed naked with him for 3 days. It was really unimaginable, and she didn't know what Qian would think of her. "You're awake." Princess Sisai turned around and said with a smile, "Looks like you're exhausted. I came to see you a few times, but I didn't expect you to wake up until now." Princess Sisai poured a cup of tea for Drunken Cat, handing it over. Drunken Cat awkwardly pulled the quilt to cover her body. When she took the tea, she realized that this was Qian's room. She immediately realized that it was Qian who carried her out of Yu Yang's laboratory, and couldn't help but feel even more embarrassed. She took a sip of tea to moisten her throat and calm her chaotic emotions. She organized her words and explained in a low voice, "I was too engrossed at that time and forgot." Princess Sisai laughed. "Sister Yi, don't explain to me. Don't say that it's true that you're engrossed in your research. Even if it's not a research experiment, I won't be jealous if something happens between you and him. After all, you're the bride of the Yi clan that His Majesty personally betrothed to him, and Fourth Mother also agreed." "How can that be? I'm 2 generations older than you guys. Although you guys call me sister, that's just you guys randomly calling me sister. If you really want to rank me, my seniority is too high." The Drunken Cat Big Sis couldn't help but blush when she heard that. She was most afraid of mentioning this topic. She didn't dare to disobey His Majesty's words. She also respected Fourth Mother. Moreover, of Yu Yang's bad boy, although he had a lot of flaws and was as lecherous as a wolf, and she hated him on the surface, she didn't dislike him at all. If it was about marrying him, the Drunken Cat Big Sis felt that it was the best choice. If her seniority wasn't higher than Wu Xia, Wu Hen, and Qian, she would definitely be like Luo Hua and Yinan, silently agreeing to the arrangement of the elders. What's seniority? Among the 100 Flowers clan, your Yi clan has the weakest population. His Majesty and Night Empress are already suffering from the curse. If you still don't want to marry and give birth to a baby with that bad boy, I'm afraid that the Yi clan will disappear from the 100 Flowers clan. Princess Sisai's expression became serious. "Don't mention this matter for now." Drunken Cat was so embarrassed that she buried her head in the blanket. In the past, Wu Xia and I didn't know the truth of history, so we didn't know how serious it was. Only now did we realize that if that bad boy didn't appear, I'm afraid that the 100 Flowers clan would really become the history of Tong Tian Tower. Thinking back, I'm afraid that our meeting with him was fate's arrangement. Perhaps it was the mercy of the ancient gods or the hard work of Yu Yang's mother over the years. Otherwise, how could we be so lucky? Princess Sisai sighed. Is that what you think? Drunken Cat raised her head and looked at Princess Sisai's small face in shock. Don't you think so? Princess Sisai smiled and asked. Maybe. Drunken Cat didn't dare to look her in the eyes. She lowered her head and replied with a trembling voice. Her voice became softer and softer until it couldn't be heard. Since it's fate, then what do you have to worry about? Besides, it's not easy to pursue happiness. You have to be as brave as a Nan, as passionate as fallen flowers, as tolerant as wuxia, and finally, as hardworking as wuxia. Princess Sisai stretched out her hand and patted Drunken Cat's shoulder lightly. I know you can think it through. In the future, we'll all work hard to revive the Hundred Flowers clan. Rest well. I'll go practice my swordsmanship first. Chan. Drunken Cat looked at her valiant and heroic figure and blurted out. But when Princess Sisai turned around, she shook her head and waved her hand. I'm fine. Actually, as long as you do it, you can also do it well. Princess Sisai's face was almost bursting with light. She smiled and said, with your results, Sister Rain, wuxia and wuxia have already helped him complete the soul contract circle on the beast bracelet. Now, there are only two small problems left. One is the first test subject, and the second is the final material synthesis. In view of your outstanding performance, wuxia and the others have decided to give these two tasks to you. No, you can't do this. Drunken Cat was surprised, happy, embarrassed, and anxious. This was obviously giving the biggest credit to her. Also, it was to create an opportunity for her and him to be alone. Although their intentions were good, it was too embarrassing to do it. She didn't even think about it. She couldn't avoid physical contact with him during the experiment. Chan and wuxia must be laughing at her behind her back. Thinking of this, Drunken Cat's face was burning with embarrassment. She couldn't wait to find a hole to hide in. Mom, are you sick? Miss Panda Nyonyo ran in with a big kite in her hand. It seemed like she was playing with shuang air. Passing by, she didn't forget to ask about her mom. I'm not sick. Go and play. If it was any other time, she would definitely ask Nyonyo to practice more and play less. But today, she patted Nyonyo's head lovingly and sent her precious daughter to play. When the little panda girl Nyonyo heard this, she was overjoyed and cheered. However, just as she was about to leave, the Drunken Cat Big Sis called her back again. Nyonyo, do you like me? I do. Other than Mom, Nyonyo likes brother the most. When Nyonyo mentioned Yu Yang, her face was full of sweetness. As long as you like it, go and play. The Drunken Cat Big Sis waved her hand. The little panda girl cheered and ran out of the door. She heard the little panda girl saying to Shuang Air, Mommy didn't cry today and even let me play. That's great. Let's go play with brother. Brother just fell asleep. Mom said we shouldn't disturb him. Why don't we find little one Li and fly the kite together? Okay. Hearing Nyonyo go play amidst the laughter, the Drunken Cat Big Sis couldn't help but feel embarrassed again. Could it be that Nyonyo saw me crying secretly when I was in a bad mood? Would she tell that bad boy? If he knew, he would definitely think too much. This time, it was really embarrassing. He even found out that I cried secretly at night. He would definitely make fun of me in the future. If this matter was mentioned in the future, I definitely couldn't admit it. Lying down again, Drunken Cat felt a sense of relief that she had never felt before. It was as if the invisible stone that had been stuck in her heart had unknowingly disappeared. Get married? Although it was His Majesty's wish, she definitely wouldn't marry him. Let him be anxious to death. She wouldn't agree no matter how much she begged him. Anyway, her name couldn't be written together with Chan-Chan's and the others' names. Otherwise, how would others look at her? The Drunken Cat Big Sis fell asleep in an unusually relaxed manner amidst waves of happy and shy thoughts. In her sleep, she seemed to dream of something interesting. A faint smile hung on her jade lips. If Nyonyo saw this, she would definitely find that her mother hadn't smiled in her sleep for a long time. When she woke up again, Drunken Cat suddenly had an urge to see Yu Yang immediately, but she resisted and deliberately didn't see him. For 3 days in a row, she pretended that nothing had happened. She didn't even mention him in front of Princess Sisai and the others. However, when they were talking about him, the drunken cat Big Sis would prick up her ears to listen. When she heard that Yu Yu had helped him finalize the soul contract runic circle of the War Beast bracelet, and that he had created the 3 standard prototypes of the War Beast bracelet, she couldn't help but sigh in her heart. As expected of the gentle and considerate Yu Yu, she had only returned for a day, but she had already helped him create the standard prototypes. It took her 3 days to experiment with the upper runic circle. It seemed that she was still far from being able to compare to Yu Yu. At night, 1 o'clock at midnight. "Are you asleep?" Yu Yang knocked on the door of Drunken Cat's room. "I'm asleep. What's the matter?" Drunken Cat was thinking about all the things that happened with Yu Yang during the research. Her body was slightly hot. She didn't expect that he would come to find her. She was shocked and said with a trembling voice, "It's nothing. I need a rest. Can we talk tomorrow?" She was afraid that he would barge in and do something rude. If that was really the case, she didn't know if she could refuse him. Although His Majesty personally ordered it, Fourth Mother agreed, and Qianqian and Wuxia didn't object, she wasn't ready yet. This was too fast. Yu Yang suddenly pushed the door open and entered. When Drunken Cat was panicking, he pulled her up from the bed. "Sister Yu is not willing to be my first experimental subject. I don't know where Qianqian and the others ran off to. If I catch them, I'll definitely beat their little butts. Kitty, come and help me." "Don't call me Kitty. I'm not called Kitty." Drunken Cat panicked. She didn't think that calling him Kitty was bad, but she felt that it was too intimate. "Hurry up." Yu Yang's mind wasn't even on how to address her. He hurriedly pulled her away. "Wait for me to wear my clothes." Drunken Cat realized that she was still wearing her pajamas. She hurriedly tried to break free from his hand and change into her formal clothes. "That's too troublesome. This will do." Yu Yang didn't think that there was anything wrong with wearing pajamas at night. Besides, when Drunken Cat wore pajamas, although her hot body was slightly covered, there was another kind of charm that couldn't be seen normally. There was nothing wrong with it. "Hey, slow down, I'll follow you." Slow down. Drunken Cat found that her heart was beating like a drum. Although she wanted to refuse, her body couldn't help but follow him. Of course, she wouldn't admit that there was a kind of pleasant surprise in the depths of her heart. She was only willing to think that she was forced to help by the barbaric Yu Yang. After entering the laboratory, Drunken Cat took advantage of the time when Yu Yang was preparing and immediately got into character. She picked up the plan on the table and looked at it. She was prepared to familiarize herself with the whole process as fast as possible so that she could cooperate with him to the greatest extent. Who knew? With one look, she immediately covered her mouth in shock. According to the design plan of the 3 women, Wu Xia, Wu Hen, and Princess Sisai, the first experimental subject of the Beast Bracelet must have all-round contact with Yu Yang and communicate with him spiritually. If it was only skin contact and telepathy, it could still be tolerated. But the most important thing was that the first experimental subject must have dual cultivation with Yu Yang that was not lower than the level of lovers, so that he could have the best understanding when exploring the world of the soul. No wonder Yu was unwilling to cooperate with Yu Yang's experiment. If this kind of experiment was really done, then it would be no different from lovers. If the big pervert Yu Yang couldn't control himself, he might even let him eat her in a confused state. Then what should she do now? Even if she didn't want to come, she was already here, but what she had to do was far beyond her imagination. Could it be that tonight will be the end of her virginity? As Drunken Cat thought of this, her body couldn't help but tremble slightly. She hadn't mentally prepared herself. Was she going to give it to him just like that? This was too fast, wasn't it? Should she tell him that she couldn't be his first experimental subject and rush out the door, or follow their plan and fully cooperate with his research? This decision could be said to determine the future of her life. What should she do? Chapter 897. If I die, then so be it. Sooner or later, I'll have to take advantage of this brat. I'm going all out tonight. It's better to get the pain over with than to prolong it. Drunken Cat closed her eyes and decided to cooperate with Yu Yang to become the first person. After making this decision in her heart, she actually felt relaxed. She didn't feel the resistance and sadness that she had imagined. Her originally chaotic emotions and panicked thoughts quickly calmed down, and her mind gradually became one. Instead, she focused more on the plan. It was as if everything that was about to happen to her was about to happen to someone else. As she focused, she suddenly felt that she had entered a mysterious realm. Her ears and eyes became sharp. She stepped into a mysterious realm that she had never experienced before. It was as if she understood a lot in an instant. Her brain expanded infinitely. It was as if she didn't gain anything. She was just in a trance. This, in terms of materials, are you planning to use adamantine, mithril, and copper to make it? Drunken Cat couldn't help but blurt out. She couldn't say it for a moment, but she felt that something was wrong. What's the problem? Yu Yang turned around and looked at the Drunken Cat big sis inquisitively. I was thinking that if a warrior wants to contract a beast that is above heaven rank, then he should use a gold beast bracelet. If it's a beast that is below heaven rank, then he should use a mithril beast bracelet. If it's a puppet beast that can't be leveled up, or a special beast that doesn't have any combat power and is purely for living purposes, then he should use a copper beast bracelet. Oh, Drunken Cat felt that it was reasonable. This was the idea of Yu Yang, Yu Wu Hin, Wu Xia, Fallen Flowers, and Qian Qian. There shouldn't be any problem. However, she felt that something was missing. She couldn't say it. Yu Yang was even more puzzled. What was Drunken Cat trying to say? Although she had participated in the research of the runic circle, to be honest, she was a layman in this field. At the very least, she was far behind Yu Yu and the rest. However, no matter what kind of inspiration anyone had, Yu Yang wanted to listen to it. Sometimes, a flash of inspiration was much better than years or decades of hard work. Yu Yang would never deny that a layman would not be able to shine in a field that he was not good at. Take Bao Air, for example, the big lowly of the Golden Elves. Normally, she did not know how to do things at all. No matter what she did, she would only do bad things. However, if she really wanted to do something really important and did it without knowing anything, Yu Yang dared to say that she would definitely be 100 times better than someone who knew how to do it. Luck, misfortune, inspiration, comprehension, these things could not be controlled by people, nor could they be obtained by hard work. I think it seems like, how should I say it? I don't know how to say it. You can sense it. If it was under normal circumstances, Drunken Cat would definitely not agree to let Yu Yang sense her heart. After cultivating together under the world tree and envisioning the godly state together, all the girls had obtained the same skill. That was to interweave the form of spiritual energy into a ribbon. Everyone was different, and the power was also different, but the function was the same. They could easily use it to communicate with their hearts. After discussion, Yu Yu and Sickly Beauty and the rest even gave this skill a name, Heart Connecting Knot. No matter who it was, they could use the heart connecting knot to connect with each other and exchange thoughts and information with their spiritual energy. Usually, everyone was more used to using words to communicate. After all, they still wanted to keep the little secret in their hearts. Now that she encountered a special feeling that she seemed to understand in her heart, but couldn't say it verbally, Drunken Cat had to choose to use this heart-connecting knot to solve it, and let Yu Yang sense her heart. Of course, if she hadn't made up her mind to agree to cooperate with his research and be his first experimental subject, she would not have done this. Bursts of light flashed. Different from Shui Wuxia's spiritual ribbon, which was a variation of ancient runes, Drunken Cat's own heart-connecting knot also had its own uniqueness. The spiritual energy ribbon was not as obvious as the others, but the starlight on it was more dazzling, constantly blooming outwards. This kind of expansion was different from the flowery blooming of fallen flowers. It was a kind of spear light or a kind of upstanding chi that was erupting. Drunken Cat often felt the brilliance on it and used it to comprehend martial arts. Silently, the ribbon wrapped around Yu Yang's finger, and she instantly felt that a rude and impetuous fellow had barged into her heart. All her secrets seemed to have been seen by him in an instant. That feeling was more uncomfortable and awkward than standing in front of him naked. Drunken Cat suppressed her embarrassment and kept using the heart-connecting knot to tie his finger tightly. Her heart was pounding like a deer, and it was hard to suppress it, causing it to jump faster. Fortunately, Yu Yang did not rummage through her heart like a robber. Instead, he wholeheartedly sensed the wondrous understanding in her heart that she couldn't say out loud. Yu Yang's face was shining. He, who had inherited knowledge and had the guidance of countless predecessors of the World Tree, had an ability to grasp any kind of inspiration and understanding that ordinary people couldn't. In less than a second, he completely resonated with Drunken Cat's understanding. Moreover, he sensed it more than she did, and more accurately. After an unknown period of time, Yu Yang slowly opened his eyes. The Drunken Cat, Big Sis, saw that there was a kind of divine light flickering in his eyes, as if there was an indescribable light of wisdom shining from the bottom of his heart, through the window of his soul, through his eyes. I understand, you thought very well. Yu Yang happily hugged Drunken Cat's fragrant shoulder and laughed out loud in ecstasy. It took him a long time to calm down. Wu Xia had said before that she seemed to have missed something, and said that she would go back and think about it. I didn't expect that you would find it so quickly. Previously, we thought about heaven-ranked beasts and a non-heaven-ranked beast below it. However, we forgot an extremely important thing, and that is beasts with potential. Actually, we also thought about it at the beginning of our plan, but we were too busy and anxious and neglected it. Actually, beast bracelets don't necessarily have to be used by non-grimoire contractors. Even grimoire contractors can use it, especially for some children who are weak in self-protection. If there is a newborn beast with potential to grow up together with them, or a strong, mature beast to protect them, then the safety of their lives and the process of growing up will be much more secure than those who don't. Our Tong Tian Tower is not big, and the Soaring Dragon Continent is even smaller. The number of talents is decreasing with each generation. If this continues, we won't be able to compete in the heaven realm at all. Now that we have this, I believe it will improve a lot. Cat, this idea of yours is the greatest contribution to the growth of future talents. No, did I really think that way? Drunken Cat rubbed her hands, looking very embarrassed that he actually praised her. That's a kind of inspiration in your mind. You did think that way, but you couldn't say it out loud. Yu Yang laughed and shook her shoulders. You don't like to talk. That's why you're like this. No, I'm usually very talkative. Drunken Cat hurriedly explained. She heard that her voice was even smaller than an ant's, and she was surprised at how gentle she was. Wait, I don't seem like this kind of person, right? What was going on? Could it be that she could no longer be angry in front of him? Wasn't this change a little too big? When she realized that the knot in her heart was still tied to his finger, she was even more embarrassed. She quickly retracted her gaze and looked at him worriedly, afraid that he would laugh at her fake gentleness. Who knew that not only did Yu Yang not laugh at her, he even praised her vigorously. Cat, this is the right way. You have to open your heart and communicate with everyone. If I'm not free, you can talk to Wu Hin, Sister Yu, and Qian Qian. Everyone is very concerned about you. Drunken Cat only now realized that he was still calling her Cat. She felt very embarrassed. I don't call you Cat, don't call me that. It's okay. When there's no one around, I'll call you Cat. This is just for the two of us. Yu Yang bent down and kissed her on the cheek, causing Drunken Cat to freeze on the spot, as if she was struck by lightning. She was actually kissed by this brat. Furthermore, it was on the lips. This was her first kiss. It was too fast. She didn't feel anything at all before the kiss ended. She wasn't prepared at all. She lost her first kiss too quickly, didn't she? Yu Yang had already turned around, completely unaware of the fact that he had snatched a beauty's first kiss. Drunken Cat, who had been standing there for a long time, was trying hard to recall the feeling just now. There were many times when she wanted to stick out her tongue to lick her lips to feel if there was still his scent, but she was afraid that he would turn around and see it. Her heart was thumping wildly. Come on. Yu Yang turned around and pressed his hand on Drunken Cat's fragrant shoulder. So fast. Drunken Cat was jolted awake from the memory of her first kiss. She had just lost her first kiss, and now they were going to start dual cultivation? Was it going to be the legendary push down? She wasn't ready yet. What should she do? What should she do? Next, Would he take off her pajamas and press his body on hers? How should she cooperate? If he kissed her again, what should she do? Would she bite him too hard when she kissed him back? If it was said that she was having a mental battle just now, deciding whether she should cooperate or not. But now, she was having a mental battle thinking about how to cooperate. If it wasn't done well, if Wu Hin and the others knew about it, then she would be even more embarrassed. Just as Drunken Cat was about to muster her courage, take off her pajamas, and close her eyes to cooperate with Yu Yang's dual cultivation, she suddenly realized that Yu Yang had draped a coat over her body. Then, he took out the three-realm compass. We have to hurry. I suddenly have a wonderful idea. If we go one step further and make the War Beast bracelet, which has the most potential and value, use sun, moon, and star gems to make it. Even if it's level 1, we can use flame drop, dream ice, lightning flower, thunder, and other rare ores in Heaven Realm to make it. Finally, we can use gold, mithril, and copper. If that's the case, then the best will always be in our hands, and those with ulterior motives will not be able to copy it even if they want to. Not to mention that they can't make the runic circle. Even if it's the materials, we have to eliminate them at the root and not give those guys a chance to destroy it. It turned out that they were going to Heaven Realm to buy rare ores. Fortunately, they didn't push down immediately. Drunken Cat heaved a sigh of relief in her heart. With a bit of relief and a bit of lingering fear, she lightly patted the super hot Gao-Tu's chest. When they arrived at Black Wind City in Heaven Realm, Drunken Cat discovered that he didn't go directly to the City Lord's mansion, nor did he go to the new Emerald Castle. Instead, he took her to a place called Black Flame Canyon. After flying for a long time, they still hadn't reached their destination. Drunken Cat, who was in a world of two people, became more and more relaxed. At first, she flew side by side with him, then she let him hold her small hand, and then she laid on his back with a little coquettishly, letting him carry her and soar in the sky of Heaven Realm. Although her breasts and lower abdomen were pressed against his firm back, producing an indescribably wonderful feeling, she didn't feel embarrassed at all, only a little shy. As she wiped his sweat, she found herself talking to him in a voice that had never been so gentle before. Are you tired? Why don't we rest for a while? You're lighter than a cat, Yu Yang replied. I'm not a cat. Drunken Cat realized that she could actually act coquettishly. As soon as these words came out, she secretly broke out in a cold sweat. This is bad. If I stay with this brat for too long, I don't even know what kind of person I will become. She quickly used a more serious tone to explain. Actually, I can also fly. Just a bit slower. It's fine. You sleep for a while. I'll call you when we arrive at our destination. Last time, I heard that there was a flame drop mine in Black Flame Canyon, but I didn't have the time to confirm it. I have Dream Ice, Lightning Flower, and Thunder Mine. If I can find a flame drop mine, then there's hope for the War Beast bracelet to appear. Yu Yang lifted Drunken Cat up a bit and patted her fragrant buttocks as if he was carrying Princess Sisai on his back. With this slap, the Drunken Cat Big Sis, who was originally weak all over, became even more limp. Although she knew that he didn't do it on purpose, that kind of feeling was still too sad. Faintly, her heart seemed to be looking forward to the lovers' dual cultivation. It was really strange. Just 2 hours ago, she was still thinking of rejecting it with all her might, but now, she didn't know what would happen if she really did it. The more Drunken Cat imagined it, the hotter her body became. She weakly laid on his back, quietly inhaling his warm and masculine male scent. Unknowingly, she had already fallen asleep. Because she was in a deep dream, the corner of her lips, once again, floated into a comfortable and sweet smile. A faint smile, but brimming with happiness. Chapter 898. Black Flame Canyon. Yu Yang had carefully investigated that place a long time ago because of his admiration for the flame drop Oregon. According to the information, it was a canyon that burned in raging flames for its entire life. Moreover, the flames there were much fiercer than other places, and the color was mostly black from afar, which was why it was named Black Flame Canyon. There were a few mercenaries who were not afraid of fire and death who would occasionally take the risk to enter Black Flame Canyon. If they did not unfortunately die, then they would usually be able to dig up some good quality pure gold or firestone, which was rare in the outside world and could only be found in volcanic craters. Of course, some mercenaries could also dig up flame drop or in Black Flame Canyon. Flame drop, or after being refined, would become flame drop gold. The latter was a type of extremely hot liquid metal. It could be combined with other minerals to create various famous weapons and treasures in the Heaven Realm. It was a very precious mineral. The high-quality flame drop gold, after being refined many times, would become a flame drop crystal gold, which was an extremely hard and completely immune to the corrosion of the fire element at room temperature. If this flame drop crystal gold was put up for auction, even if it was the size of a finger, it could be sold for a high price of more than 10 million. It was one of the 100 items that the Heaven Realm always bought from the lower realm. Boom, 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 boom. When Yu Yang carried Drunken Cat and flew about 50 kilometers away from Black Flame Canyon, he, with his extremely sharp senses, heard an intense battle. Someone was fighting outside Black Flame Canyon. Could it be that they were also here for the flame drop? Or, if that was the case, then Yu Yang would not be surprised at all. Someone is fighting? It seems like they're getting closer. Drunken Cat also woke up from her sleep and immediately got off from Yu Yang's back. After a slight adjustment, she regained her usual calmness. She clenched her fists and continuously increased her strength, preparing to face the sudden attack of the enemy. Hold your breath and observe the situation. Yu Yang waved his hand, indicating that she did not need to be nervous. Okay. Drunken Cat looked at Yu Yang, and her tense nerves slowly relaxed. With him here, she just needed to listen to him. Even if there were any changes, he would be able to deal with everything. Rumble. At some point in time, the sky had been dyed a dazzling blood red. Countless heavenly fire meteors poured down like raindrops, densely crashing into an area of about 30 kilometers in radius. Even though the range of the attack was still a distance away from Yu Yang and Drunken Cat, the tremor caused by the attack and the subsequent shockwave still made them frown. Although he wasn't able to see it with his own eyes, Yu Yang estimated that the attacker was at least at Heaven Rank Level 4. If it was just the strength of a Heaven Rank Level 4, then it was fine. This place was too close to the Black Flame Canyon. Although the fire element seemed quiet on the surface, it was actually very active. Once it was disturbed, it would erupt with a frightening might. The power of those heavenly fire meteors smashing down was not inferior to a heaven-ranked level 5 expert's attack. The heat wave was monstrous. If the fire element was already so powerful in the outskirts of the Black Flame Canyon, what would happen inside the Black Flame Canyon? The outskirts of the Black Flame Canyon might not be comparable to Supreme Laihua's Sea of Fire World, but in the Black Flame Canyon, the fire element inside would probably surpass it. The Sea of Fire could be balanced by the Hourglass World water. Where'd he find so much water to reduce it here? If he didn't bring Drunken Cat along and was alone, it would naturally not be a problem. However, since he was already here, it would be a pity if he didn't let her take the opportunity to temper herself. Right now, he didn't know if he was friend or foe, so he should just wait and see. Sure. Yu Yang made a hand gesture to hide. Understood. Drunken Cat changed from her usual self and completely listened to Yu Yang's arrangements. She held her breath and quietly hid beside Yu Yang. After the heavenly fire meteors smashed onto the ground, a few shadows escaped from the raging flames. Two of them were old friends that Yu Yang knew. One was Skeleton Man Rachel, the leader of the Black Skeleton Bandits in the Southern Heaven Realm. The other was the vampire who had a falling out with Lima under the Redemption City and was scared away by Lima's trick. Yu Yang didn't know the name of this vampire, but this vampire's strength wasn't bad. He had the strength of Heaven Stage Level 3 and was only a little weaker than Skeleton Man Rachel. However, no matter if it was Skeleton Man Rachel or Vampire, they were both in a sorry state. Skeleton Man Rachel and Vampire each brought along 2 heaven-ranked subordinates, fleeing from afar while feeling battered and battered. Yu Yang could see that if it wasn't for the 2 of them protecting them, the heavenly fire meteors just now would have been enough to kill Skeleton Man Rachel and Vampire subordinates. The two of them cherished the fact that their subordinates were heaven stage and would rather be in a sorry state to protect their lives. That was how they managed to escape from the meteor shower alive. The enemies who released the meteor shower did not chase after them. Instead, they retreated. They returned to the Black Flame Canyon on their own. Due to the distance, Yu Yang couldn't see what it was even with his heaven eyes divine vision. He only saw that when it came and went, it brought along 100-meter tall black flame that soared into the sky. Could it be the demon beast boss that guarded the Black Flame Canyon? However, he had never heard of any demon beast appearing in the Black Flame Canyon before. The main reason why the mercenaries who went there died was because there was a kind of explosive flame eruption in the Black Flame Canyon. No matter if it was a fire attribute race or a beast, once they were sprayed by this explosive flame, they would immediately turn into smoke. This was the main reason why the Heaven Realm mercenaries didn't dare to go to the Black Flame Canyon. As for the demon beast occupying it, no one had ever heard of it before. Damn it, Bloodfong, because of your wrong information, the Black Skeleton group that I had painstakingly managed for many years is finished, completely finished. Skeleton Man Rachel no longer had the pretentious look that Yu Yang had seen before. Instead, he angrily roared at his companions. I admit that I am responsible for the wrong information, but you should also know that I didn't want this to happen. Your Black Skeleton group is finished, but didn't my Bat group also die? If I didn't use my treasure to protect them just now, how could your two subordinates still be alive? Rachel, I did get the wrong information, but it wasn't my original intention. It's not that I don't want to make up for it. Look at how I used my most precious Guardian of Light. You can see how much I have sacrificed for our cooperation. That vampire called Bloodfong immediately frowned when he talked about the battle. It was obvious that he was very pained to use that Guardian of Light. Leader, what should we do now? One of Rachel's subordinates saw that the two bosses were almost done arguing, so he came up to ask. No matter what, it has nothing to do with you. With your strength, it's impossible for you to go back to the Black Flame Canyon. How about this? We'll stay and think of a way. The four of you immediately returned to Silver Leaf City to rest and wait for our return. Pay attention, don't cause trouble for me. Especially don't provoke the new Emerald Lord and the three clans of Soaring Dragon, Sky Demon, and Sky Reaching Clan. Those experts from the Western Heaven Realm, even the Lionheart King has to curry favor with them. Rachel sternly warned. Subordinate understands. Even without Rachel's reminder, the four of them wouldn't dare to become enemies with the new forces of the Emerald Territory. One had to know that not everyone had the strength to provoke a cross-border war. And it was obvious that the experts of the three clans of Soaring Dragon from the Western Heaven Realm had won both openly and secretly, becoming a force with absolute power in the Emerald Territory. After waiting for his four subordinates to leave, Rachel angrily slashed a 100-meter-long crack in the ground with his blade. Damned Lord of the Black Flame, this bastard has been hiding underground like a rat for thousands of years. To think that he has quietly accumulated such a powerful strength. If we hadn't joined hands to explore, we would have been deceived by the tranquility of the Black Flame Canyon. It turns out that he has always been hiding in the Black Flame Canyon to absorb fire energy. Fortunately, we discovered it early. Otherwise, when he succeeds and comes out, the group of enemies we used to fight with will all die without a burial place. Vampire waved his hand, indicating for Rachel to calm down. Rachel, it's still in time. We have already found traces of the Black Flame Lord. If we wait for him to absorb all the fire energy from the flame-dropping stones, that would be really bad. Rachel's skull made a thinking gesture. Bloodfong, the problem is with just the two of us. Even if we know that the Black Flame Lord is at the critical moment of advancing to Heaven Rank Level 6, we are still powerless to stop him. Now that there is no one to help us, the two of us are powerless. We can only watch helplessly as the Black Flame Lord absorbs fire energy to advance. It's really maddening. No matter what, we can't let him advance. Vampire Bloodfong put on a pair of sharp silver claws and waved his hand. Even if there is no one to help, we have to harass him to the end. The Black Flame Lord is at the critical moment of advancing and is most likely to be destroyed. If it was any other time, we would have no choice but to escape. If only the clown was here. Rachel sighed. With him here, I'm even more worried. It's hard to guarantee that the clown won't use us as cannon fodder and reap the benefits in the end. Vampire immediately sneered. Although there's that kind of danger, his brain is still more useful. He can think of a way and has a higher chance of success. With just the two of us, I really don't have any confidence. Skeleton Man, Rachel sighed. When Drunken Cat heard this, she stretched out her hand to touch Yu Yang, as if asking Yu Yang why he didn't go out and cooperate with the other party. Yu Yang shook his head. A mysterious smile appeared on his face. If they went out to help now, even if they won, the spoils of war would still be given to Rachel and Blood Fawn. He had enough strength and was hiding in the dark, waiting for an opportunity to attack. Why did he have to cooperate with Skeleton Man, Rachel, and Blood Fawn? Moreover, these two fellows were not good people. If he cooperated with them, it would be hard to guarantee that they wouldn't do something behind the scenes. It would be fine if the Black Flame Lord was an extremely strong enemy. But from Rachel and Blood Fawn's tone, it was just a lord that was hiding to absorb fire energy. Not to mention Heaven ranked level 5. Even if it reached Heaven ranked level 6, Yu Yang wouldn't care about it. Since Lord Lai Hua was so powerful, he had already killed him. What difference would there be with the Black Flame Lord? This guy was at most an elite monster, not even a boss. The only thing that was worthy of Yu Yang's caution was the dangerous terrain of the Black Flame Canyon. Sometimes, the harsh terrain was more terrifying than the enemy, because it was something that could not be completely grasped without knowing its true depth. Let's do this. Yu Yang made a they fight on both sides. We'll pick up the middle gesture towards Drunken Cat. If this shameless plan was in normal times, Drunken Cat would definitely despise it. But now, her sense of justice would not overflow to the Southern Heaven realm. In her heart, although she didn't view her opponents as strange like Yu Yang, she also felt that everyone here was an enemy, and nothing she did would go overboard. Chapter 899. Black Flame Canyon. The temperature was high, and the flames soared to the sky. This barren land was a forbidden area for other creatures, but for Drunken Cat, who was wearing the energy absorption bracelet, it was not a big deal. Not to mention her own realm and control of the elements. Not to mention Yu Yang's care, and even putting aside the energy absorption bracelet, which is a treasure known as an elemental disaster, just the protection of the fire ring of the contracted war beast, Golden Flame Lion King Simba, allowed her to walk freely in the burning land of Black Flame Canyon. The little panda girl Nyonyo did not follow, but Simba's family came. The Golden Flame Lion King Simba, who had already risen to the 3rd level of Heaven's stage, already had the strength to hold his own. If it wasn't for Yu Yang's extreme caution and insistence on advancing step by step when exploring, Drunken Cat could have advanced quickly under the protection of Simba and the lioness. Yu Yang's caution was not without reason. In a place like the Heaven Realm, being careless was equivalent to courting death. In the Heaven Realm, abnormal life forms and terrifying environments were everywhere. If a warrior was not careful, they would fail miserably. As a man who often used all kinds of favorable conditions to attack his enemies, how could he suffer such a clear loss? What's more, Skeleton Man Rachel and Vampire Blood Fawn had even led a team to charge in, causing them to be completely annihilated and come out with their faces covered in dirt. If they still did not wake up after this, they would not even be called an idiot, but a retard. Shoot, pay attention. Yu Yang felt a little regretful. He had left in a hurry and forgot to bring Hui Tai Lang, or the chaotic spirit. If Hui Tai Lang was here, it would be best to send it to scout ahead in this kind of terrain. Simba. Drunken Cat felt that she had to make a contribution, so she gestured for Simba to scout ahead. As a smart war beast, at this moment, it naturally had to actively perform to please its master. Simba brought his wife and lurked in front. It was like hunting a wild beast. Hidden in the flames, the two of them kept approaching the 3 people who were fighting in the distance. Skeleton Man Rachel and Vampire Blood Fong were attacking the flaming giant from afar with their claws and saber lights. With every breath, the black flames on the giant's body would rise to a height of 100 meters. His strength was enough to overwhelm Rachel and Shuya, but he didn't seem to want to fight with Rachel and Blood Fawn. His face was full of impatience. "Rachel, you skeleton, I've already let you go. Why are you still bothering me? Scram for this lord. You might still remember the little friction in the past, but this lord doesn't care at all. Unlike a pitiful worm like you, this lord's ambition lies in the heavenly realm. Scram immediately. This lord can no longer be bothered to investigate the dirty deeds of your bone clan. As for Shuya, you loathsome vampire, I have no grudges with your vampire clan. Get lost, or I won't hold back. Do you think that with your heaven rank 3 strength, I would have instantly killed you if I hadn't been lenient? You make it sound nice. Who doesn't know that you're a vindictive person?" Rachel sneered. "With the strength of heaven rank level 5, you can indeed instantly kill me, who is only heaven rank level 3. But 90% of your fire energy is used to refine the black flame soul crystal. You're just an empty shell now. You can't even protect yourself, and you still want to threaten me?" Although Vampire Blood Fong didn't want to admit defeat, he still stayed far away from the giant. He didn't dare to get close and only maintained his harassment. "Do you think that you can stop me from reaching heaven rank level 6 by doing this?" The giant laughed wildly, as if he had something to rely on. "Want to try?" Skeleton Man Rachel waved his blade and attacked like a tide. But he was careful not to get within 100 meters of the enemy, because he had already discovered that there were dozens of caves of different sizes within 100 meters of the enemy. Drunken Cat couldn't see clearly because she was too far away. She touched Yu Yang with a questioning look. Yu Yang used his Heaven Eyes divine vision to investigate to the best of his ability. When the truth entered his heart, he couldn't help but tremble and blurted out, "It's actually the Earth Guay fire." Drunken Cat felt that it was a little familiar, as if she had heard of the name Earth Guay fire before. For a moment, but she couldn't remember. Yu Yang knew that other than this place, there was another place that had the Earth Guay fire. That was the God's Ruins. According to Xin Yang's sister's inheritance of knowledge, Yu Yang knew that there was a sea of fire in the God's Ruins. It was all formed by the Earth Guay fire. This kind of Earth Guay fire was very strange. It was usually still. It looked like a lake. If there was no external force to break it, it could stay quietly for thousands of years. This kind of strange burning was also called silent burning by the ancient warriors. The advantage of the silent burning of the Earth Guay fire was that if someone could do it without disturbing it, then they could always cultivate in it. Not only would they not be burned to death by the fire, but they could also achieve the effect of body tempering. Of course, this was very difficult. Even in the ancient times, there were very few people who used the Earth Guay fire to cultivate. Most of them used it to forge divine weapons. Forging divine weapons was relatively simple. As long as the divine weapon that needed to be quenched was thrown into the Earth Guay fire, it would undergo a tempering process and carefully take it out without disturbing its eruption. Of course, it looked easy, but it was actually very difficult, because once the silent burning of the Earth Guay fire was disturbed, once the tranquility was broken, it would erupt with a temperature that was tens of thousands of times higher and erupt crazily. That kind of eruption was enough to destroy all unformed divine weapons. What? Drunken Cat was immediately scared out of her wits after being reminded by Yu Yang. At the moment, it is still quiet and has not been disturbed. Otherwise, forget about Heaven Stage Level 5. Even Heaven Stage Level 6 or 7 would not be able to withstand it. That Black Flame Lord is still waiting. Maybe it is not the time for the eruption, or maybe it needs some conditions to break it. However, I can be sure that this ground is still far from the Earth Guay fire that is buried deep underground. Otherwise, it would not have scattered into those big and small caves. Yu Yang made a bold judgment. "What should we do now?" Drunken Cat asked. "Of course we should find a bigger cave and follow the eruption passage to take a look." Yu Yang answered with certainty. You lunatic! Drunken Cat was so scared that she broke out in cold sweat. She really couldn't understand what kind of person this brat was. If she were to say that he was afraid of death, he was cautious enough. No matter what he did, he would think twice before doing it. If she were to say that he was reckless, he was also bold enough. Even though he knew that those were the caves where the Earth Guayin fire was erupting, he still wanted to take a look. If the fight outside caused the eruption, it would be strange if he, who was halfway through, did not become a roasted pig. Yu Yang did not ask for her opinion. Usually, he was very democratic. No matter what he did, he was willing to let Shui Wuxia and Princess Sisai consult and give their opinions. Even if he got their support, he would often ask Fourth Mother or some elders to humbly ask for advice. He always hoped that he could use everyone's wisdom to do his best. However, when it came to some very important decisions, he was a dictator. Once he made a decision, he would definitely not be questioned. No matter what kind of plan it was, once he made a decision, everyone had to fully cooperate with him. Drunken Cat was already used to Yu Yang's contradictory personality and actions. Every time he made an important decision, she would definitely support him to the end. This was what she learned from Shui Wuxia. Among the girls, Shui Wuxia was the first to stand up and support him. At the same time, she was also the one who fully cooperated with Yu Yang's decisions. Even Princess Sisai could not compare to her in this aspect. Simba and the lioness stayed behind. Their purpose was to stall for time in case the Lord of Black Flame defeated Rachel and Blood Fawn. If Yu Yang and Drunken Cat had not come out yet, Yu Yang originally only guessed that there was a flame drop mineral vein in the Black Flame Canyon. He did not expect that there would be such a surprise like the Earth Guayin fire. Even if he could not get it, he wanted to see it with his own eyes so that he could use it as a reference when exploring the god's ruins in the future. Maintain the emptiness, the mind is one. Yu Yang imitated Ji Zun's hand gesture and drew the runic circle to break the void. In an instant, Drunken Cat, who was tightly lying on his back with the heart-connecting knot, felt that she and Yu Yang were teleported to the largest cave not far from the feet of the Lord of Black Flame. This kind of deceptive teleportation and the double pressure of breaking into the cave, where the Earth Guayin fire was erupting, made Drunken Cat's body tremble slightly. Nervous. Fortunately, Yu Yang quickly brought her down the tunnel. The Lord of Black Flame, above her head, did not know anything. He was still angrily throwing fire spears to drive away Rachel and Blood Fawn, who refused to let go. They slid down at least 2 kilometers. Drunken Cat felt that this tunnel was so long that it made her heart tremble. If the Earth Guayin fire erupted, then both of their lives would be in danger. That was definitely not something that the energy absorption bracelet could resist. This feeling was even more torturous than stepping on a volcano that was about to erupt. If it wasn't for Yu Yang's decision, and if it was someone else, she wouldn't have entered this passageway where the Earth Guayin fire was erupting even if you beat her to death. That was simply courting death. The slightly curved tunnel slid down another 1 kilometer. Suddenly, they were in the air. Drunken Cat found that she was already in a spacious space. The space was at least 2 to 3 kilometers in all directions. Looking down, the height was about 300 to 400 meters. The first thing that came into her eyes was an incomparably quiet black flame. It was not big and was in an irregular circle. Its diameter was less than 50 meters. However, it made her hair stand on end. If he fell into this tranquil black flame, he would definitely explode into nothingness. The energy contained in the silently burning black flame would definitely be able to destroy the entire Black Flame Canyon if it completely exploded. Fortunately, it was very calm. No matter how the magma around it boiled and rolled, the black flames did not move at all. Are you going to get some back? Drunken Cat did not need to guess to know what Yu Yang was going to do next. This guy would never enter a treasure mountain empty-handed. If she did not get some Earth Guayin fire back, she believed that he would not give up. However, if she disturbed its tranquility and caused it to erupt, wouldn't it be? Drunken Cat naturally accepted her fate to follow him. If she died, she would die. Anyway, the only thing she needed to do now was to support him. that's for sure. However, our real harvest is not only the earth Guayin fire. Yu Yang's voice was suppressed with excitement. He swallowed a mouthful of saliva and said, "We're rich. Cat, look at the top of your head." The top of my head? Drunken Cat looked up and found that the dome of the whole space was less than 10 meters away from her. It was densely covered with a kind of black or with purple and blue light stripes. Some of them were in the shape of stalactites, long and hanging down. The whole stalk had turned deep purple and blue. Was this the flame drop, or? A drop of flame, crystal, gold the size of finger, could be auctioned for tens of millions. There were so many flame drop, or here. How many drops of flame, crystal gold, could be refined? Drunken Cat also felt like she had fallen into a gold mine. No, it was 10,000 times better than a gold mine. It seemed that she was really going to be rich this time. She immediately suppressed her excitement and looked at Yu Yang in high spirits. "Tell me, how do you want me to cooperate? Although I'm not very good at mining, I think it's not a problem for such an obvious open mine." Yu Yang shook his head and waved his hand, signaling Drunken Cat to suppress her excitement. He pointed in a direction. "Look, the flame drop, or is nothing. That fire god soul refining grass is our biggest harvest this time. After being refined by the earth Guayin fire for thousands of years, this divine herb, which is said to be the reincarnation of the souls of gods after their death, has reached its mature stage. If we have it, it's no less than getting a divine weapon. It's really unexpected that there is such a divine treasure in the Black Flame Canyon. No wonder the Black Flame Lord would rather let people fight his way and then to chase us out of the canyon. It turns out that he has been guarding this fire god's soul, refining grass." Drunken Cat's beautiful, big eyes widened. Divine treasure? Chapter 900. What a divine grade mean? Especially consumable medicine or herbs. If it could be rated as divine grade, it was simply an unimaginable treasure. You take care of it. Don't let anyone disturb me within half an hour. Also, be careful not to let anyone use energy to attack the Earth Guayin fire. Otherwise, if it breaks the silence and erupts, the entire space will become hell. Yu Yang looked at Drunken Cat seriously. "Don't worry, I won't let anyone cross the boundary, even if I die." Drunken Cat felt that her blood was boiling. She didn't know how long Rachel and Shui could keep the Black Flame Lord occupied, but she estimated that no matter how hard they fought, it wouldn't be more than half an hour. If Simba couldn't hold it back outside, the Black Flame Lord would most likely rush back immediately. Yu Yang needed to focus on separating and obtaining the fire god soul, refining grass. Moreover, there was still the Earth Guayin fire on the ground that would explode once the energy balance was broken. She had to subdue the enemy first, or else the consequences would be unimaginable. Drunken Cat forcefully suppressed her intense heartbeat, clenched her fists tightly, and took a deep breath. She tried her best to calm down her trembling body. She couldn't be nervous. She had to use 100% of her fighting power to protect him. Before he successfully obtained the fire god soul refining grass, no matter who it was, they were not allowed to pass. Slowly, she took out the gold-ranked dragon-slaying spear that Yu Yang gave her, closed her eyes, and held her breath, sensing any unusual movements in her surroundings. Time passed by minute. In Drunken Cat's heart, every second was as unbearable as a year. Half an hour of protection was too long. Rachel and Shui couldn't possibly keep the Black Flame Lord occupied for that long. With the Black Flame Lord's attention on the fire god soul refining grass, he couldn't possibly chase after them and would definitely return as soon as possible. At that time, when he realized that Yu Yang was fighting for the treasure, there would be a fight to the death. Furthermore, when he was in despair, the Black Flame Lord might even attack the Earth Guayin fire, causing a huge explosion and perishing together with her. If only she was a little stronger. If only she had the strength of an innate elder. "Come on, you can do it." Drunken Cat bit her lips lightly to encourage herself. She didn't dare to use too much strength, fearing that she would become nervous. He slowed down his breathing and made it as long as possible. Every bit of his mind was spread throughout the surroundings. One to defend the four directions, Papa! A few pieces of rubble fell to the ground because of the rising flames. Drunken Cat was so scared that her heart almost exploded. Fortunately, they did not fall into the range of the Earth Gui fire. She hurriedly continued to maintain the state of single-mindedness that she had achieved with great difficulty, but she was unable to suppress her thoughts in an instant. Ancestors of the Hundred Flowers sect, please bless me that I can safely pass this treasure hunt. If I can successfully pass this time, I will definitely let go of all my worries and dual cultivate with him. I will definitely work hard to increase my strength as my #1 responsibility. Rumble, 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 rumble. Far away on the ground, a tremor like an undercurrent was transmitted through the sound waves. The drunken cat hurriedly calmed herself down and used her spear to pierce the stones that were falling from the sky, causing them to explode into powder. She then rotated the air around her, forming a hot cyclone that kept spinning around her, preventing the Earth Gui fire from being disturbed in the slightest. In the face of difficulties and adversity, if one didn't have enough strength, it would be like flipping over the bridge of death. It was all about the heartbeat. The drunken cat was drenched in sweat. She had only used one skill, but she was already as tired as if she had been fighting with the enemy for 3 days and 3 nights. Relax, don't be nervous. Yu Yang's thoughts were transmitted into her mind. The drunken cat knew that he was reminding her. Her tensed heart was relieved, and her mind returned to its original state of single-mindedness. She was fully immersed in sensing the space, and gradually she entered the ESP state that she had longed for but had never entered before. This state had once appeared under the world tree when she reached the God Glimpse realm with Yu Yang's mind. However, she had never reached this state with her own understanding. She didn't expect that she would successfully step into this state at this critical moment. Huff, huff, as she breathed in and out, the drunken cat Big Sis could clearly feel that she was ascending. Her realm was rising. The energy that she had accumulated during cultivation was constantly being converted during this ascension. Some of it flowed out of her body, and some of it integrated into her mind. There was also some elemental energy that was converted by the energy-absorbing bracelet to the gold-ranked dragon-slaying spear, allowing it to benefit from it. If she didn't need to protect Yu Yang, she was willing to immerse herself in the ascension of her realm for 10 days and 9 nights. There was a slight movement. A cave appeared above her head. An enemy had entered. The enemy did not rush in immediately. Instead, he kept probing as if he was playing hide and seek with someone. Sometimes he would retreat to the outside to observe. Was it the Black Flame Lord? Could it be that he had defeated Rachel and Bloodfawn? Because of this thought, she could no longer maintain the state of single-mindedness. The drunken cat realized that her energy was slightly shaken because of the change in her state of mind. Roar! Even without using her eyes, the drunken cat could see the Black Flame Lord, who had sensed the movement of the energy ripples below. He was madly pouncing down. She had to stop him in the cave. Not even a minute had passed. If she let him in, Yu Yang, who was focused on gathering herbs, would be in danger. If the Black Flame Lord threw his energy into the Earth Gui fire, then both she and Yu Yang would be heavily injured. Kill! The drunken cat did not have the time to open her eyes. She raised the dragon-slaying spear and used the remaining energy from the new realm that had not completely dissipated. In addition to the energy that she had refined before, she used her will to pierce the enemy with the tip of the spear. There was no defense, and there were no other moves. It was just one spear, full power. The Black Flame Lord, who was as strong as heaven-ranked level 5, was stunned to realize that there was a spear piercing towards him like a dragon. It was as easy as piercing an egg. It pierced through the energy barrier protecting his body. Under his incredulous gaze, the spear pierced into his heart. The Black Flame Lord was furious. This was simply humiliating. Although he had already refined a pure elemental body, it was still a great humiliation to have a spear pierce through his heart. What made him even more furious was that he did not realize that the enemy had sneaked into his nest. He even fought with Rachel and Bloodfawn, the two guys who were baiting the enemy. Scram! The Black Flame Lord used his fire hand to hold onto the spear shaft and released a power that could shake mountains, wanting to shake the other party to death. However, to his surprise, that gold-level spear actually exploded with the power of a transcending sage weapon. Fire Hand actually couldn't hold on to it, and actually easily pierced through his chest. From front to back, the spear had penetrated his body in one go. Go! The drunken cat did not lose her momentum. Together with her spear, she pierced the Black Flame Lord and flew upwards. The Black Flame Lord's claws tore at the cave wall. In the blink of an eye, he allowed Drunken Cat to pierce through thousands of meters with her spear. Seeing that he could not resist, the Black Flame Lord exploded with flames that soared into the sky. His fire claws intersected and slashed towards Drunken Cat's neck, intending to kill her in one move. Despicable human bug, I will kill you. Simba, who was riddled with wounds, appeared behind the Black Flame Lord, together with his master. A pincer attack. The sharp claws heavily tore the Black Flame Lord's head. So this stinky cat is yours. The Black Flame Lord completely understood why a heaven-ranked level 3 Lion King would sneak an attack on him after Rachel left. So its master was her. The Lord of the Black Flame, whose head had been smashed in half and dark red lava flowed out of his head, completely ignored his injuries and laughed coldly. Do you think that you can kill me like this? Too childish. I have long cultivated into a pure elemental body. Using sharp weapons and brute force to attack is impossible to harm me. The test is over. You could die now. The drunken cat Big Sis unleashed a soaring fist. The Black Flame Lord easily caught it with his fire claws and used his other fire hand to pull out the gold-ranked dragon slaying spear from his chest. He disdainfully stabbed it into the wall at the side. There was a big hole in his chest, and countless amounts of black-red lava flowed out. However, this was not fatal. The Heaven Realm warriors were different from humans. Their hearts were not fatal, especially when they had cultivated into a pure elemental body. Otherwise, the attack would be ineffective. Human worm, watch me crush your fist. The Black Flame Lord did not care about Simba, who was behind him. They were both of the fire attribute. He felt that fighting with Simba was meaningless. Because defeating Simba was not difficult, killing him, who had the same attribute, might not even be possible in a few days. However, the human girl in front of him was different. She looked very weak. With just a light slap, she would be instantly killed. Stupid. The drunken cat's originally tense expression suddenly changed and became relaxed. Do you still remember the feeling of being frozen? Well, what? The Black Flame Lord was stunned at first. Then, he shockingly realized that his arm had started to freeze. When he looked carefully, he suddenly saw that there was an energy-absorbing bracelet on her wrist. It was the Elemental Calamity Bracelet that many Heaven Realm warriors and elemental beasts were terrified of. She actually had such a treasure? Simba bit on the Black Flame Lord's tail and tried his best to drag him out of the cave. The frightened Black Flame Lord had already realized that something was wrong. The place where his chest was pierced was no longer lava, but water vapor. It was caused by the collision between the ice and the heat in his body. Ever since he had become an elemental body, his chest, which had never had any permanent cracks, started to harden and crack open. Without any hesitation, the Black Flame Lord spat out a blazing tongue of fire, forming a fire sickle. His other hand that was not frozen grabbed the sickle and slashed sideways, cutting off half of his body. Using his remaining right leg to kick his body, which was gradually turning cold, towards Simba to block him. At the same time, the Black Flame Lord dodged the second shot from Drunken Cat. He turned into a ball of flames that resembled a shooting star, rushing towards the bottom of the cave. The Drunken Cat was anxious. Yu Yang was still picking the fire god soul, refining grass. If she let him go down, he would definitely find out, just as she was about to chase after him. Suddenly, the Black Flame Lord was split into two. A ball of black flames came out from the Black Flame Lord's body and charged towards the Earth Gui In fire. However, The Black Flame Lord's body suddenly stopped and used its fire claw to block Drunken Cat's dragon-slaying spear. I do not deny that you came prepared. However, in this kind of terrain, I will never fail. Even if I only have 10% of my fire energy left, even if I don't have 10% left, just the Black Flame Soul Crystal alone is enough to withstand the baptism of the Earth Guayin fire. As for you, human little bug, you will turn into ashes when the Earth Guayin fire erupts. Ha ha, goodbye. No. The Drunken Cat screamed in despair. When the ball of black flames collided with the Earth Guayin fire, she was not thinking about herself, but Yu Yang. If it was not for the fact that she was not strong enough to completely freeze the Black Flame Lord, she would not have made such a mistake. She rushed towards the Black Flame Lord's fire claw, even if there was a long wound on her back. Fresh blood splattered everywhere. She did not care at all. Right now, she only had one wish, and that was to stand in front of Yu Yang before the Earth Guayin fire erupts. She could die immediately, but nothing must happen to him. This was not only for the hope of Tong Tian Tower, it was also to protect the love in her heart. Even if it had never said it out, but love definitely existed. She was very sure of it. For the love that she could not say out loud and was never willing to admit, she wanted to stand in front of him. Even if she could not resist, she wanted to die together with him. Speed up, and speed up. The Drunken Cat's tears flowed down her face as she rushed down from the 1,000-meter-tall tunnel. She did not care about the black flames crashing into the Earth Guayin fire. She only opened up her arms wholeheartedly. Even if she died, she wanted to be with him. At the last second, she threw away her worries, shyness, guilt, and all other distracting thoughts. She only had a pure wish. To be with him forever and ever, regardless of whether they turned into ashes or something else. They would never be separated again. My nose. Yu Yang was hit by Drunken Cat, who was rushing towards him with all her might. He was sent flying 100 meters away, breaking 2 stalactites as he crashed into the hard cave wall. His calves twitched as he cried out in pain. He covered his nose and shouted at the stunned Drunken Cat in exasperation. "Cat, what are you doing?" Drunken Cat felt that her brain was a little lacking. She had never thought that she would use her chest to send Yu Yang flying. Sigh. It was fine if she said it was a mistake, but why didn't the Earth Guayin fire explode? Wasn't it the last second of her life, just now? What exactly was going on? Chapter 901. Not only the Drunken Cat, even the Lord of Black Flame, who had been hiding here for thousands of years, was confused. The earthly Guayin fire disappeared like fireworks. It was completely silent. Wasn't there nothing in this world that could break the silence of the earthly Guayin fire? Why did this happen? Most importantly, the Lord of Black Flame raised his head to look at the dome and realized that the fire god's soul refining grass that he had been waiting for thousands of years for had actually disappeared. He suddenly had the urge to burst into tears and bang his head against the wall. What a bitter life. In the past, he was besieged and crippled. He couldn't even protect his body and could only transform into an elemental body. After much difficulty, he finally found a divine great herb that unexpectedly appeared in the world realm. He thought that his luck had finally taken a turn, and he was finally the winner in life. He had been counting on it for thousands of years. In the end, during the last month when it was about to ripen, it was stolen by a human couple that popped out of nowhere. Thousands of years of hard work had been destroyed in an instant. The Lord of Black Flame suddenly felt that his heart ached 100 times more than when he had watched the temple master of the central shrine steal his childhood sweetheart and first love. He had spent thousands of years digging out all the flame-dropping ores that were produced in the Black Flame Canyon and laid them around the fire god's soul, refining grass, to increase its growth energy. He had also risked his life to trigger the eruption of the earthly Guayin fire at regular intervals to accelerate its ripening. However, during the last month, it was actually stolen from under his nose. If he had intestines, the Lord of Black Flame would definitely be green with regret, just like his first love back then. If he had known that she would be snatched away by that damned hall master, he would have impregnated her earlier and made her the mother of his child. Otherwise, he would have disfigured her and turned her into an ugly monster. At the very least, he would still be able to have her. Ah! The Lord of Black Flame was so angry that he was about to explode. However, just as he was about to attack Yu Yang, he suddenly saw this young man stride forward and ask a question that the Lord of Black Flame could not believe. Are you the owner of this place? How could you leave your post when the herb is ripening? Aren't you being too irresponsible as the owner? Although the soul-stabilizing grass only looks good and is not a treasure, what you did was wrong. If I did not discover it when I came into mine, it would be such a pity if it was destroyed by someone else. We were kind enough to help you pick the herb, yet you attacked us. Don't you feel ashamed at all? Looking at Yu Yang's criticism, Drunken Cat was stunned. The Black Flame Lord's mouth opened so wide that a Heaven Realm toad could fit inside. Only when Yu Yang finished scolding him and stopped to rest and drink some water did the Black Flame Lord wake up from his daze. Suppressing his excitement, he asked in disbelief, "Are you talking about the soul-stabilizing grass?" Soul God Soul Yang thought of the Yang. Wasn't his foresight a little too lacking? However, this seemed to be a good thing. The Lord of Black Flame's heart, which had already lost all hope, was quickly infused with a heart-trembling warmth. Using force was definitely not an option, because once the battle started, this brat would destroy the fire god soul refining grass. Then, even if he cried himself to death, he would not be able to salvage the situation. However, if he could trick this brat back, perhaps he would continue to be a winner in life. Heavens, could this be the legendary fate of never cutting off one's way out? If he really tricked the fire god soul refining grass back, he might be able to break through to heaven rank level 6, or even heaven rank level 7, and advance to heaven rank level 8. That was the divine grade fire god soul refining grass. With a heaven ranked level 8, Skeleton Man Rachel and the other scum could be killed instantly. Even that damned palace master Jiao, too, wouldn't be a match for him. At that time, he would definitely snatch all of Jiao Tu's women back. He would rape all of his women and daughters before killing them, including his first love, who didn't even fake a few cries when Jiao Tu snatched her away. She only had a satisfied look on her face. He really regretted not knowing that she was a B *TCH before. Cough, cough. Thank you very much for picking in time. Although it's not a very important item, it was planted by my ancestor personally. Seeing it reminds me of him. In order to protect this soul refining grass, my grandfather, father, and I have been silently guarding it for thousands of years. Because an enemy came knocking on our door, we had no choice but to leave. I didn't think that little brother would come to mine and protect this soul refining grass for me. I'm really grateful. The Lord of Black Flame held back his excitement, and also forcefully held back the urge to vomit, saying that the family had been guarding it for generations. How could he, the unfilial son who killed his grandfather, then his father, and finally his brothers and sisters to snatch the position of Lord, endure it? Of course, speaking was almost the same as farting. Even if he smelled the stench, he wouldn't scold him. I knew it. It's placed in such an important position, and it's such an ordinary item. How could it not have a special meaning? Yu Yang's face was filled with pride that he was very smart. Yes, that's right. It has a special meaning. It's something that I cherish the memory of my ancestor and father. Every time I see it, I can't help but think of my grandfather and father's earnest teachings when I was young. The Lord of Black Flame put on an expression of I was born to be a filial son. The soul refining grass is useless to me. I can return it to you. Yu Yang was very generous. Cough, cough. Drunken Cat almost blurted out that it was impossible. She had never heard of any treasure that could come back out after it entered his hands. However, because of the Lord of Black Flame, she realized that something was wrong. She forcefully held back her words and sighed in her heart. Only Wu Xia could do it. I can't cooperate with him at all. Fortunately, she knew that even without her cooperation, this brat could still trick the other party. Actually, if little brother can return the soul refining grass, I will definitely repay you generously. After all, there's nothing in this world that can replace familial love. If not for the fact that he had become an elemental body, the Lord of Black Flame would have squeezed out a few tears. Actually, I don't want to repay you for your kindness. My mother taught me to do good deeds since I was young. Do you think that my reputation as the Heaven Realm's #1 obedient child was picked up for nothing? Of course, if you really want to express your gratitude, I can't reject you. After all, it's your kind intentions. Actually, I don't really want anything. For example, I don't want any of these black flame ores. Kitty and I are not greedy people. Don't even mention all of them. Even if you insist on giving me half of these black flame ores, I won't agree. That's really too much. I'm sorry. Yu Yang acted like a greedy and prideful novice. I agree. What's more important than familial love? Beep cough. Although these black flame ores are good, they can't compare to familial love that supports my beliefs. I agree to give you half of the black flame ores. The Lord of Black Flame almost burst into tears again. What a foolish family disciple. Only God knows how this brat managed to barge in. With his childishness and foolishness, it was simply a miracle that he could survive in the Heaven Realm. Maybe it was because of the protection of his girlfriend and bodyguard. For this kind of foolish family disciple to appear in front of him, it was really a turning point in his life. If it was someone else, they would have escaped long ago. Why would they even bother mining ores? A mountain full of flame drop ores couldn't even compare to a leaf of the fire god's soul refining grass. Forget it. There's no such thing as a stupid idiot in this world. Seeing that the Lord of Black Flame had agreed, Yu Yang clapped his hands happily. He then turned around and signaled the drunken cat. Kitty, I've already said that he would agree. That's why we still have to be reasonable. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and mine. With so many black flame ores, we can make a flame iron saddle for Simba. Drunken Cat didn't dare to open her mouth now, afraid that she would be exposed if she opened her mouth. She quickly turned around. She didn't even have time to change her mining tools. She immediately raised her gold-ranked dragon-slaying spear and pointed it at the flame-drop stalactites that were hanging down. Seeing her mining amateurishly, the Lord of Black Flame had some strange thoughts, but he immediately threw them to the back of his head. They were simply a pair of foolish lovers. As long as this brat returned the fire god's soul refining grass, he would skin him alive and fry him. As for that female bodyguard who had decent strength and dared to fight but lacked experience, come on, continue to mine. We can't ask for more, just half will be enough. Yu Yang was just like a hedonistic son of a rich family. The only thing missing was the words, "I haven't stopped drinking milk," written on his face. He didn't mention the soul refining grass again. Instead, he urged Drunken Cat to hurry up and mine. The Lord of Black Flame believed that this young master was indeed smart. Black Flame Lord was finally convinced that this brat would really return the fire god's soul refining grass to him. This was because he realized that the other party seemed to be a little nervous. His right hand had wanted to take out the fire god's soul refining grass from his storage ring a few times, but he seemed to be worried that he would go back on his words. Hence, he urged the female bodyguard to hurry up and mine. I say, little brother, you don't have to work so hard. Because of thousands of years of guarding, I still have some black flame ores that I have accumulated. In order to thank you for your kindness, I have decided to not only give you my collection, I will also give you an extremely rare white tiger pearl in the Heaven Realm. Although its rank isn't very high, it will definitely be of help to your lion beast Simba. Look, this is a pearl that can only be found in the lower realm. The Lord of Black Flame had wanted to take out a better treasure, but after thinking about it, he realized that this brat was a hedonistic son of a rich family. He had seen many things before. Instead, things from the lower realm were rare to him. It's so beautiful. When Yu Yang saw the white tiger pearl, his eyes widened. He was drooling even more than a child who had seen a candy. You don't have to dig anymore. It's too troublesome. Other than this pile of black flame ores and this white tiger pearl, I can also tell you about a hidden treasure ground. It's definitely a treasure, but it's extremely dangerous. Hence, normal people wouldn't be able to explore it. You don't have to be embarrassed. You're my little brother after all. The Lord of Black Flame became anxious when he saw this brat's awkward expression, as if he wanted to help, but was worried about losing face at the same time. A well-educated family's disciple was really annoying. If you said that he was greedy, he was extremely greedy. If you said that he cared about his face, he cared about his face more than anyone else. Even though the Lord of Black Flame had given him something, he still wanted to protect his pride. I don't deserve it. However, since you have begged me so bitterly and are so sincere, I will reluctantly agree. Yu Yang shouted at Drunken Cat to stop digging. The Lord of Black Flame really wanted to strangle this brat to death. I won't go to the hidden treasure ground. My mother said that I shouldn't go to places that are too dangerous, but it's good to hear the secret. Yu Yang expressed that he was definitely a good boy who would listen to his mother. The Lord of Black Flame despised this brat from the bottom of his heart. If he told him the location, this brat would probably go there to die at the first moment. Although the Lord of Black Flame was sure that he would torture this brat to death in a while, this didn't stop him from telling him the location of the hidden treasure ground in the central shrine. This was the biggest piece of information he had obtained in order to seek revenge on the palace master for scorching the earth. Yu Yang nodded his head, beaming with joy. After he received the white tiger pearl and a large pile of ores, he really took out the fire god soul refining grass and casually held it in his hand. The Lord of Black Flame was almost angered to death. It was extremely easy to destroy this precious fire god soul refining grass like this. If it wasn't for the fact that he was afraid that snatching it would destroy it, this brat would be dead for sure. In order to calm this brat down, the Lord of Black Flame immediately apologized to Drunken Cat and praised her spear skills. The Lion King Simba also fulfilled his duty and took out a duo luo pearl necklace that he was prepared to give to his first love, but was unable to give it to her in time. This item had the effect of nourishing one's complexion and was a quasi-saint level treasure. He generously gave it to Drunken Cat as an apology. Naturally, Drunken Cat didn't take it. However, Yu Yang didn't hesitate to take it. Just as he was about to pass the fire god's soul refining grass to the Lord of Black Flame, he suddenly asked, "Was that fire just now the geocentric lotus fire? Why did it suddenly disappear?" Geocentric lotus fire? The Lord of Black Flame felt that he should just go blind. However, the fire god's soul refining grass was right in front of him. He couldn't care less and immediately replied casually, "That's right, you're too accurate. As for why it disappeared, I also don't know what happened. Perhaps it was the protection of my ancestor and father spirits. This is all to protect this soul refining grass. When I talk about my grandfather and father, my tears are about to fall. All right, since you said it so pitifully, I'll give you this soul refining grass." Yu Yang stuffed the herb in his hand into the Lord of Black Flame's hand. The Lord of Black Flame was ecstatic. He was so excited that his heart almost exploded. However, a second later, when he was observing the herb in his hand for the last time and was about to confirm it before putting it into his storage bracelet, he suddenly realized that the herb in his hand that was protected by the energy ball was really a soul refining grass. Why did it change? It was clearly a fire god soul refining grass just now. How did it suddenly become a soul refining grass? He was stunned for 3 seconds before he immediately understood. He angrily threw the soul, stabilizing grass in his hand onto the ground and roared at Yu Yang. "Brat, you dare to play with me?" Yu Yang's expression was extremely innocent. "Didn't you want the soul refining grass? You even said that your ancestor had personally planted it and protected it for generations. If this isn't the soul refining grass, then what is it? My mother said that my eyesight isn't very good, but who would know that your eyesight is even worse than mine? Don't tell me that you mistook the soul refining grass planted by your ancestor as the fire god's soul refining grass." When Drunken Cat heard this, she couldn't hold it in anymore. She burst out laughing. "You dare trick me? I'll kill you." The Lord of Black Flame had never been so angry in his life. Even when Jiao Tu snatched away his first love, or when his father announced that his brother was the heir of the Lord, he had never been this angry. Die. This human brat who stole his fire god's soul refining grass was not only a thief, but he also dared to stay behind to trick him. If he didn't torture him alive for 81 days before killing him, he wouldn't be able to dispel the hatred in his heart. Actually, I'm not only interested in the treasure, I also like the heaven-ranked level 6 black flame soul crystal. Yu Yang smiled, his eyes sparkling. Since you agreed to give it to me, it would be impolite of me to refuse. Did he agree? Drunken Cat immediately asked curiously when she heard that something was wrong. Just now, I asked him silently in my heart, and he didn't say anything against it. This means that he agreed to my request, so Yu Yang answered, "Hey, can you be any more shameless?" Drunken Cat suddenly pitied the Lord of Black Flame, who was so angry that he almost vomited blood. It was really a tragedy to meet such an abnormal opponent like Yu Yang. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.